versus Menard Crane.
Drew Dalton is suing his former friends, Arena Menard and her husband, David Crane, for several unpaid loans.
Now, Mr. Dalton, these two people were friends of yours.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to both of them. You made one or more of these small loans. You sort of got disgusted because they hadn't paid you anything back.
No.
So you said, listen, let me finish. I'm going to give you a broad stroke, Mr. Dalton, and then I'm going to get down to what I'm going to do today. So you said, listen, you haven't paid me back money that I lent him, Mr. Crane, and so I need some collateral for these loans. And you took as collateral the title to their car.
Just wait till she's done.
And then, according to you, you saw they were spending money on other stuff, and you didn't get any of your money back, and then you were afraid they were going to move out of town. To make a long story short, the car is now an impound. You want the money that you loaned them, or in the alternative, since you've repossessed the collateral, you want an order saying the car belongs to you.
One of the two?
Right? Quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you want an order that says the car belongs to you so that it'll be released to you,
Yes.
or in the alternative, the value of the car.
Yes.
So when it really comes down to it, and I've read through both your complaints and the answer, you want me to make a decision whose car this is.
Yes.
Because if it's your car, because it was the collateral on a defaulted loan, you'll get an order that says to the sheriff to release the car to you. And if I find that it was not collateral on the loan, that he wrongfully took possession of this car, you will get an order that says the car belongs to you. Right? Perfect.
Drew Dalton says former friends Arena Menard and husband David Crane owe for several loans. Arena and David are countersuing, claiming Drew stole their car.
So, Mr. Dalton, you made a series of loans to them.
Yes, I made, can I speak?
Now you
Yeah.
can speak.
Okay. I made a loan to Mr. Crane for $1,000, and he was supposed to go out on a fishing trip and come back and then pay me when he got back in
You mean fishing
October.
a work
He
trip?
worked for a fishing boat. And while he's gone, I made some loans to Arena, which totaled up to like $300.
That is not true.
And
How much did he give you, Mr. Crane?
Give me $1,000.
Why did you ask Mr. Dalton for $1,000?
So me and Arena, my wife now, said go get married. Surprise her and go get married.
Why would he give you $1,000? Is he a very rich man?
I don't know about that.
When
but
were you supposed to pay him back?
Upon returning from my fishing trip.
Okay. And did you go on your fishing trip?
Yes, I did.
Did you come back from your fishing trip?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay him the money?
No, not at that time. But we later discussed payments to him.
Yeah, later
and both of
after.
us agreed upon that, that we were going to make the payments
Okay,
out.
just a second. So you defaulted on the loan initially?
Yes.
Fine. And you didn't give him the $1,000?
I took off.
When you were supposed to?
No.
When did you get back from your fishing trip?
September 2nd. No, excuse me. It was on
No.
October 27th.
Yeah, close to
When did he give you the $1,000?
first week of September.
And you got back almost 2 months later?
Yeah, almost 2 months.
And when did you make your first payment to him on this revised schedule?
He didn't get a chance to make the payment because of the fact that...
Because he took off.
We didn't get a chance to make the payment because I was the one that was always in constant contact with him. We talked about it, and I told him that we were having problems with the payments, that he has to find another job because he didn't want to be a fisherman anymore because he came back from his fishing trip and his captain burned him practically for $6,000. But that's
Well,
why...
where were you working?
I wasn't working.
Why not?
Because I'm an SSI recipient
For what?
for my back.
What's wrong with your back?
I have severe scoliosis, and I was born without 2 discs in my back.
You walked in here just fine.
I know this, but I know
painful.
it's a painful thing every day. It's 24/7. I have had. They want me to have surgery, and I refuse to have surgery.
They want you to have surgery.
I'm afraid of the
to cure
surgery.
the pain, so that you could work and you cry anymore, and you wouldn't be in constant pain, and you have decided not to have the surgery.
I'm afraid of the surgery, yes, ma'am, because of one back surgery leads to another.
How long have you been on SSI?
A year,
Prior to that, what were you doing?
trying to get a job, and then they told me that I
When was
and
the
also-
last
it's
time
also-
you were employed on a full-time basis?
when I lived in Florida.
How long ago?
It's been a while, 3 years.
95.
When did I go?
8.
I'm not sure, ma'am. I don't know.
You mean you don't know when the last time you worked is?
Well, yeah, when we lived in Florida 2 years
Give me
ago.
a year.
3 years ago.
You have children?
Yes, I do, but they don't live with me.
Who do they live with?
They live in Ukaipa. They're grown. Well, not grown all the way, but grown.
How old are they?
19, 17, 16, and 14.
Who do they live with?
2 of them I had to have adopted out because my ex-husband refused to be a father, and I couldn't take care of them. And my daughters live with their grandmother on their dad's side.
Now I'll hear you, sir.
Okay, you forgot to mention that when he came back from the fishing trip, And he bought a car, he bought a fur coat, bought a diamond ring. And
Bought a fur coat for who?
For,
What does she need a fur coat for in bed?
I don't know.
Excuse me. Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
And then, you know, I'm going, well, where's my money? And he's telling me, give me a story. And then they take off to Alaska.
We didn't go to
And
Alaska.
I'm gone.
Don't speak.
I'm out of my money. You know?
Just a second.
They took off, left town, didn't tell me nothing. They just split. So I thought I lost my money right there.
Then they came back.
Then they came back
How did they travel to Alaska?
in a car.
She was able to sit in a car
Yeah.
long enough to get her
Apparently.
to Alaska? Sit in a car? Who are you?
Witness for the defendants.
What are you laughing at, sir? You think it's funny that the public is probably being scammed by this lady? You think that that's a riot?
I'm not
No,
being scammed.
she's not trying to scam anyone.
Sir, let me explain something to you. SSI was not intended for people who choose not to relieve their pain from having surgery. And if you can live and move around and get from there to there, then you can get a job.
I've tried to get
J-O-B. Get a job on a telephone, sitting in your living room making calls. You sit in your living room, watch TV. Get a job as a telemarketer. Get a job doing something when you owe money. Car belongs to you, sir.
Thank you.
I will enter an order that they defaulted on their loan, as a result of which you repossessed the car. The car is rightfully yours. Put your hand down, and that order will be cut within the next 10 minutes. Thank you
Your
very
Honor.
much. That's all.
Parties are excused. 21-year-old Crystal Sanchez is suing beauty salon owner Christina Kobian for damage caused to her hair from bad highlights.
Miss Sanchez, how old are you?
21.
Is that your own hair?
Yes.
All of it?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I ask you that question because your lawsuit is for $1,000 because you say you went to a beauty salon that is owned by the defendant and one of the stylists there ruined your hair.
Yes, that's correct.
Turn around, please. Let me look at the back of your hair. How did they ruin your hair?
It looks normal now, but I have pictures to show you how she messed up my hair. She had initially...
Just a second. You were going in there to have her put blonde highlights in your hair?
Yeah, I wanted my natural dark brown base with medium blonde highlights.
Why?
I don't know, I thought it would look nice.
No.
Because all my friends have that.
Don't do that again. Don't think about doing that again. I'm allowed to have an opinion about that. Look how gorgeous she is with that gorgeous hair. Why in the world would you want to put anything at your age in your hair to change that gorgeous color? What do you do for a living?
I'm a business banking representative. I handle small business accounts for
You
business
like your
owners.
job?
It's something for now till I find another job more within my degree.
Which is?
Economics and communications.
So you
majored in
think that you're going to find something where you're going to be able to shine, right?
that. Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little advice before we get into this case. Somebody like you who's got a beautiful face and beautiful hair, when you put blonde streaks in, look at me for all the wrong reasons. You want somebody to look at you and to recognize you because you're bright and you're doing good work and you're achieving something, not by putting streaks in your hair or rings in your nose or stuff in your tongue. You know what I'm talking about? You know, the people that run around with pink hair and purple hair and yellow hair, they're saying, look at me for all the wrong reasons. If you achieve something, people will recognize you. You got it?
Yeah.
Now, you went to her beauty salon to put these ridiculous blonde streaks in, and she turns you over to her technician. You must be Lulu. So tell me what happened.
So I was running a little bit late, probably because I was stuck in
You see
traffic.
how fast I did what I had to do?
Yeah.
Try to follow my tempo.
Okay, sorry. And when I had initially got there, I thought that Christina was going to do my hair because that's who I scheduled the appointment with.
She made an appointment with you?
Yes.
Why did you switch her appointment to Lulu?
She got there late, and I need to step out. I had an emergency.
What kind of an emergency did you have?
I go to church, and I'm a Christian, and somebody invited me to go see some young girl who had some problems, and I needed to go over there.
That was pretty fast thinking.
Honest, true.
God should strike you down that that's a true story?
Amen.
Amen. Right. All right, so you took Lulu. That was your first mistake.
Yeah.
Because you called up and made an appointment with her.
Yeah.
Because she had a recommendation.
Yeah, she does a nice job with hair.
So you knew that, but you knew nothing about Miss Lulu.
I had called, though, and asked if Christina could still do my hair, and she stated yes. And I waited there for an hour before they even came to approach me and talk to me and let me know that she couldn't do my hair. And then she told me, oh, well, Lulu can do your hair.
That was your first mistake. That was your mistake. You say, thank you very much. I don't know a thing about Lulu. I'm leaving. You got it?
I see, but I trusted her judgment because she
Why would you trust her judgment? You didn't know her from a hole in the wall.
I trusted her judgment because Christina does good hair, and if
Christina does good
gave a
hair. She
recommendation
owns the
for
shop.
Lulu.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
You're in business, right?
Yeah.
Christina does good hair. She owns the shop. she has a customer who's going to pay how much for these highlights?
$145.
$145. She's not letting you walk out of the store. That blouse is really blinding. She's not going to let you walk out of the store. Why would you trust her judgment?
I guess, I don't know.
You made a
maybe.
mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so you let Lulu do it. And what happened?
I let her know that I wanted, what I wanted, and she did my hair completely how I didn't want it. And it was just orange and ash blonde, and I specifically said that I didn't want ash blonde highlights. And she gave me a black base and not even a dark brown base. It was this base. So I don't know how, from what I asked, how she came up with putting those colors.
I don't know either. When did this happen?
December 1st.
And since December 1st, all your hair has grown out, you've washed out the color, you had it done again, what happened?
I basically just bought a box of hair dye at the store, and I put black over the hair that she did for me. And then I deep conditioned my hair and just didn't wash it as often.
Let me see the pictures, please.
Okay.
Well, it is highlights. They're ugly.
If you look, you could see like bold, like my hair is really thin.
Oh, awful. Lulu, you better go back to school, honey. This is not beautiful. Listen, your hair is okay. You're suing him for $1,000. That's ridiculous. But she's a dissatisfied customer. And what are you supposed to do as a business person for a dissatisfied customer? You want to look at this hair?
I would love to. When she called me saying about the problem with the hair, come and see me.
Listen,
she got her hair done on the 1st.
Listen, I want you to take a look at this.
Okay. She got her hair done on the 1st. Oh, sorry.
Don't give me the whole story. Just take a look at the picture. The picture says 1,000 words. Got it? Is that ugly or what?
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Is the way that she's going? Yeah.
Just a second. That's what it is. That's not somebody else's head. That's her head. It's ugly. So if somebody's dissatisfied with your work, what are you supposed to do?
Make her happy.
Either make her happy or give her money back.
If you have a business, a person cannot just call and say, hey, I'm not happy with my hair.
She came back to your shop, according to your answer. So you had an opportunity to look at this.
She came back because she said the highlights were thick, too thick. And
they are too thick. They look awful.
That's what she asked. Let me explain.
No. She's not a stupid woman. She used bad judgment by letting Lulu do her hair. But when you're a businesswoman, Ms. Cobian, and because I'm not wasting my time with this case anymore, $1,000 is out of the question because your hair did not suffer any permanent damage. It needed some restructuring for a while. Probably serves you right for touching it in the first place. I hope it taught you a good lesson. But first of all, she called and made an appointment with you, and you gave it to Lulu.
She had an opportunity to say no?
Listen to me. Don't answer me back. This is not a give and take. We are not on an equal footing.
Okay. Sorry about that.
The first thing that happens is you give her to somebody with whom she did not have an appointment. She was dissatisfied with her hair, and not only was she dissatisfied, but based on that picture, she had a good reason to be dissatisfied with her hair. Now, if I'm a customer and I'm dissatisfied with what you did in your shop to my hair, I don't want to let somebody else correct it. I want my money back. And that's what you should have given her. Period. End of discussion. Then you wouldn't have been embarrassed. And everybody who goes to your shop is going to see you here in court, having been told by me that you did the wrong thing. You should have said, I'm sorry, Ms. Sanchez, if you don't like your hair, I'm going to give you your money back. Go to someplace else and have it done. If you like, I'll give you some free conditioning if you like. But I want you to leave a satisfied customer. Not like that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $145. That's all.
Why is that excused? You next step out. Massey versus Zavala. Step forward, please.
Mary Massey and her husband Clinton are suing former friend, 22-year-old Amber Zavala, for the balance on a Ford Escort they sold her. The Masseys claim Amber wrecked it driving drunk.
Mr. and Mrs. Massey, the defendant was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, some time ago you allowed her to take over the payments on a car that you had purchased.
Yes.
With the understanding that when she finished paying off the car would be hers.
Right.
Unfortunately, she had an accident with the car was totaled.
Right.
There was no insurance on the car, and you believe that Ms. Zavala should pay at least up to this court's maximum, which is $5,000, for the car because you are being held responsible for the remainder of the payments on the car.
Yes.
Ms. Zavala says that she was under the impression that there was insurance on the car, that you kept the insurance on the car, and she's counterclaiming because she says that you should have kept the insurance on the car so that all of her medical bills and her loss of work, her loss of income, would have been covered if you had had proper insurance. She also wants some stuff that was left in the car after the accident. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you take possession of this car, Ms. Zavala?
In October of last year.
What kind of car was it?
A Ford Escort ZX2.
What about the insurance?
There was no way I could get insurance on the car because I was not added to the registration.
Why did you let the insurance lapse?
Because we only had liability on insurance, and it wasn't even in our name. It was in his father's name, just to cover us if she had hit somebody else.
Okay, so tell me, when was the accident?
January 29th.
Well, tell me about the accident, Ms. Zavala.
I was on my way home from a friend's house, and I was trying to get my cell phone out of my pocket.
Let's go a little slower.
Okay.
You were on your way home from a friend's house?
Yes.
What time?
It was almost 6 in the morning.
What were you doing coming home from a friend's house at 6 a.m.?
We had gone out earlier, and then we'd all gone to her house and just kind of hung out, talked.
Had you been drinking?
Wait, earlier, yes.
When earlier?
I had stopped drinking at the bar at 1 o'clock, and between 1 o'clock and my accident, I had 2 beers.
Go ahead, let me hear what happened.
So I was on my way home, and it was getting late, so I was trying to get my cell phone to let Bobby know that I was on my way home and see if he was home, because it had been late. We hadn't really talked all night.
I don't care what you wanted to say to him.
I just didn't know I was getting my phone, and then
You were getting your phone how?
out of my pocket. It was in my pocket, so just I looked down long enough to pull it out, and it was just enough to veer, just enough to the right to hit the corner of the bridge, and I ended up flipping over a bridge into a canal.
So whose fault is that?
It was mine.
You had alcohol?
Yes.
You were not paying attention?
Right.
So it's your fault that the car was totaled?
Yes.
Why did you pay for it?
Well, if there would have been insurance on the car, I would have been covered through insurance. It was an accident.
If I would have been taller, I would have had a potential modeling career, unfortunately.
That's very true. But that's why we have insurance, is for accidents.
No,
That's what it was.
you have to have liability insurance in case you hit somebody else. You don't have to have collision insurance.
But I couldn't even get that. I couldn't even get liability myself because I
It
wasn't
doesn't
on
make
the
any
registration.
difference about liability insurance, madam. You didn't hit somebody else. Put your hand down. They're not suing you for damage you did to somebody else's property or for someone that you hit in the car. They're suing you because they want the money that they have to pay out for the car because of your negligence. You got it?
I understand.
Your Honor,
What?
there are several insurance companies that do have non-owner policies available.
Do I need
and
you?
It wasn't...
Just a second. Is this your husband?
Yes.
Does he often talk when he probably shouldn't?
Sometimes.
This is one of those times.
Okay.
Somebody is going to be out $5,000. It's either going to be them, and they weren't driving a little drunk and
I
trying to
wasn't
get a
drunk.
hold of a boyfriend, looking downstairs in your pocket instead of looking in front of the road. You were. So somebody's going to be out $5,000. Who do you think I'm going to choose?
Probably me.
Right. You're probably right. Now, your counterclaim, your ridiculous counterclaim, wants your medical bills because you were injured.
Yes.
You were taken to the hospital.
Yes.
You missed work.
Yes.
Next time, don't drink and drive.
I wasn't drunk.
Next time, don't drink and drive.
Okay.
So your counterclaim with regard to your medical bills, pain and suffering, out of work, etc., is dismissed.
Okay.
Now, there was stuff in the car.
Yes.
Do you have her stuff?
Yes. It's in our car right now.
Great. You can turn it over to
Absolutely.
them. They can get their stuff back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Chrysler versus Franklin Stubbs. Parties have been sworn in. May be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Chrysler, you lived for a period of time with the defendants, and after an incident, you were forced to leave the house, leaving some of your property there.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
want your property back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that the police took some of your property. Some of your property they put out and you took.
Yes.
And the remainder of the property they are holding on to as sort of collateral until you pay your rent and utilities, which they claim you still owe. So they have a counterclaim. How did you meet them?
I met Larry through my old boss at Noble's. It was a feed store.
And when did you move into their home and why?
It was at the end of October. I was living in my hometown and then had electrical problems, and then we had a gas leak, and so talked to Larry. I was just going to stay there for the weekend until they got it fixed. But me and him talked and thought it would be a good idea if I stayed there, helped them with the bills. You know, they had a newborn baby coming on. Thought it would be a good help.
So what arrangements did you make as far as paying rent?
I'd pay a third of it.
And what did that come out to be?
I'm not 100% sure.
It was $650.
Okay. Mr. Chrysler, do you still owe them rent?
No, ma'am.
Did you pay them the rent?
My last check I got from my job, I handed them my check. All I kept out of it was like, I think $50. I got laid off from my job.
When did you get laid off?
It was right before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you paid September, October, and November.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay December's rent?
I was under the impression that that was the money I was giving them was for November and December.
All right. When did you leave?
I left January 11th.
Why?
While they were in the hospital having their baby, I watched their 5-year-old. When they came back, she made some accusations against me. And I've already decided after those came out that I was going to leave. He called the non-emergency police line. They came out, took a statement.
From you?
And them. They told me I had to go, and originally I was just going to be gone until they had a chance to talk to the investigator. After that, the investigator told them that I was not allowed to come back into the house whatsoever to get anything. I talked to the investigator, gave him a statement. tried to see if they had a warrant to go search through my stuff, because he told me they did search through my stuff and take anything. He said that they were not allowed to disclose that information to me. When I finally got a hold of Larry and Jenny to get my stuff back, we had set it up originally for Sunday. That got canceled. I called them and told them I was on my way. They said something came up and they had to go. I think it was the following week. I went and got the rest of my stuff. I had to come back at 8. They said it was all in the back. We had a big ice storm come through. My TV was damaged. I had to replace the speakers on the sides.
Mr. Crisler, what do they still have of yours in the house?
Basically all my big stuff. They have a 6-foot-tall bookcase of mine.
You have the bookcase, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, ma'am. I have pictures of
Okay. What else?
They also have a computer desk and an entertainment center.
You have that in the house?
I have the computer desk. I put the entertainment center back there with the stuff.
There was no entertainment center back there.
What else?
A couple movies and games and software for my computer. My computer itself was missing. My computer tower was missing.
The police took that.
Have you been to the police to see what they vouched, sir?
Yes, ma'am. They just said they can't disclose that information to me.
Well,
That it's the order of their
Judge,
police.
I went to the officer, and he gave me one.
Can I please have...
And I also have the search warrant.
They took 8 computer CDs, 1 black CD case with miscellaneous CDs, 11 miscellaneous CDs, 4 CDs, 1 calendar, 1 compact computer. They took computer hardware, 5 backup computer disks, 2 notepads, 2 VHS tapes, and 1 wireless receiving compact. Mr. Crisler, listen to me very carefully, sir. I cannot go into the charges that were made by this 5-year-old because there is, at least it appears to me, an ongoing investigation by the police with regard to that. Confiscated some of your stuff. The bookcase and certainly belong to you, and you can get them back. Other than that, I don't know what you want from the Franklins. They are not responsible for this. They did what they had to do with regard to these, at least, allegations that were made by their 5-year-old, and they had to follow the directions of the police department with regard to your non-access to the house. Do you have a lawyer, sir?
No, ma'am.
Did anybody suggest that you get a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am. I can't afford one.
So you really have to wait until something happens with regard to this until you can get your stuff back?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what's happened with this investigation, if anything?
Nothing right now, Your Honor. They're still doing the investigation part of it.
Okay. You do understand there is a presumption that he did nothing wrong.
Right.
That's what the law says. Go ahead.
Right. I told him that he could keep his stuff there because of the fact that there was no proof of anything as of that time. I even let him borrow my car because he had just gotten a job. 2 days later, I get a phone call telling me that my car is sitting on the side of the road. Batteries ran down and it's completely out of gas.
Why did you act so irresponsibly with his car, sir?
I put gas in the car, and what happened is my friend's husband I was staying with, he said he thought it was the fuel pump, and we'd see what we can do in the following morning. We put gas in it. It didn't start. He just said it might have been the fuel pump. I don't know. I'm not good with cars or anything.
Well, you were good enough to borrow it and just to leave it on the side of a road. That's irresponsible. Very irresponsible. You interested in your rent from this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why did you let him stay?
My,
nowhere else to go.
my boss talked me into it because my boss has known him since he was in high school. He moved in with us before. And the entire time that he stayed there, he didn't have a job at the beginning. But when he got a job and moved out, he paid us the money that he owed. So we didn't have a problem with him coming in the second time, and he actually had a job. So I figured everything would be all right.
Plus, he was our friend, and I have a problem with a friend of ours not having a place to live, so...
So you let him stay?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I was very heavily pregnant at the time, and he did help me out with my 5-year-old.
Well, is that worth something? It sounds to me like almost a quid pro quo. You needed his help. He was giving you his help. He was taking some of the burden off you. At least that counts for something, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe that's why you didn't hound him for the rent, because at least he was doing something, right?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have to return his property.
I also have my dog. Their neighbor said it's not there.
Where's the dog?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was afraid that
Mother says former roommates Larry Franklin and Jennifer Stubbs disposed of his belongings and took his dog to the pound. Larry and Jennifer are countersuing for unpaid rent and bills.
Where's his dog?
his dog went to the pound. When he first originally moved in with us, I told him because I have a very big timber wolf.
It's a timber wolf.
A timber wolf. It's a the one I have. It's a hybrid. It's a big dog, and his small dog. I told him that we could keep the dog for 1 week. until he could find a good home for it.
When did you turn the dog over to the pound?
Week and a half after he left, yes, ma'am.
They had a number where they can contact me. No one ever contacted me.
Your Honor,
The
they gave
detective
them a
told me
week.
I was not allowed to contact them no more. I wasn't allowed to call them.
Who is this person?
This is my witness, Sue.
How is she related to you?
She's a friend of mine.
Why couldn't she contact them and ask them about the dog?
I don't know.
I don't know
think
either.
about it.
Seems to me if you can't contact them, you had Sue here who could pick up the phone and say, could I come over and pick up the dog because he wants his dog back?
I got rid of the dog because I was afraid that my dog would hurt his dog. My dog had already pinned his dog down a couple times.
Well, I don't know if I would keep a wolf in my house with 2 young children, but that's your prerogative.
He's a
Listen,
very nice dog, but he's
very-
also very territorial.
Well, he's a very nice dog. Very nice dog, very territorial. You have 2 young children. I don't know whether I would keep a timber wolf in my house with 2 young children. Your dog is at the pound, sir. Have you checked on the whereabouts of your dog in the pound?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Well, I suggest you do that. It's very possible that the dog was adopted. You should have moved a little more swiftly. You get back your bookcase and your desk. The rest of your property is with the police department in Denton. I suggest you contact them and find out if they're not going to charge you with anything, they have to return your property. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as your rent is concerned, I think he worked off the rent by doing some helpful things around your house. Okay?
Michael Rubosh is suing his ex-roommate, professional arm wrestler Shelley Arnold, for the return of his belongings and an assault. Michael claims Shelley tried to throw him down the stairs.
Mr. Rubosh, according to the complaint that I read, you moved in with Miss Arnold into her apartment or her home and claimed that she assaulted you, and when she threw you out, she also disposed of your property. Miss Arnold says that she never assaulted you, that you fell over and hurt yourself, you were drunk, and she does acknowledge that she packed up your stuff and put it in a trunk and left it outside. Is that right?
That is correct.
How do you know each other?
We're high school friends.
How long have you known each other?
About 15 years.
Do you have an alcohol problem, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What about Miss Arnold? Does she have an alcohol problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Did you?
Yes, I have had.
How long have you been sober?
I haven't been sober, but I no longer abuse alcohol. And
Well,
this
if you
guy
had an
gets drunk
alcohol...
on a nightly basis.
Shh. Listen to me, Miss Arnold. If you had an alcohol problem, and if you still drink...
That's a problem, huh? Okay.
And you have a sense of humor, which is a good thing. Now, on what night do you claim that Miss Arnold assaulted you?
Well, it was the 15th. It was like on
15th of what month?
July.
Were you drunk?
Yes.
Was she drunk?
Yes.
So
That's
you were,
incorrect.
So you were both drinking?
Not that particular, not at that point yet that night.
All right.
He was.
Listen, I'm not dealing with this assault because, quite frankly, when 2 people have an alcohol problem and they proceed to get drunk and they chase each other around and somebody gets hurt, I'm not interested.
I wasn't
And the
drinking
shop
with-
speaking.
Sorry.
So far, you're not losing anything. Now, how long did you live in Miss Arnold's home?
About a month and 13 days, I figured it down to about.
Did he pay rent?
I didn't charge him a rent. I told him from the get-go that it was an inconvenience fee because he's very inconvenient.
Miss Arnold, did he pay you any money?
$250.
$250.
It was supposed to be $250 every 30 days.
You're volunteering information. It's something that I don't have time for. He gave you $250. And on what date did you take his property and put it in a trunk and put it outside?
He said he was going to come the next
listen,
day.
The next day?
Yeah. Not all of it. I still have some of it, but he still owes me money. And I put out what he needed, because he had been recently employed, so I put out things that he needed to get to work and to where to work and whatnot.
Did you pick up those things from outside?
No.
I watched him.
I didn't pick up any of my stuff. I went there with a friend, and there's nothing there.
What do you have that belongs to him in your house?
There's some bedding and whatnot, but I put an army chest of his stuff that he needed for work, plus a mail and some of my underwear that he destroyed. I taped to the top of the treasure chest. So I figured he needed those things.
And you saw him...
I found some of my lingerie and his stuff. That was
Listen to me,
destroyed.
Miss Arnold, I'm losing patience with you very, very quickly. With him, too.
Here's a pair of
You
my
said-
underwear he stretched out, and I'm bigger than he is, so 2 people must have been wearing these
Listen to me.
at one time.
I'm going to lose it with you in a second. Do you understand? I don't think you're
I
amusing.
understand.
You said that you watched him pick up the things. When did you watch him pick up the things?
2 days later, he came with 2 friends, and they put it in the trunk of a large beige car.
Go ahead.
I didn't pick anything up. I came there with my buddy, and there was nothing there.
Mr. Rubash, have you gone into rehab since
Yes,
July?
I have. Yeah.
When did you go into rehab?
I went on 6th of...
Well, this happened in July.
16th of July. I went on the 16th of July.
Here's some certificates from 97, 98, 99
I didn't ask
of his
you a
treatment.
I didn't ask you a question.
Okay.
She said that she threw you out on the 28th of July. How could you have gone into rehab on the 16th
No,
of
it's
July?
August, sorry.
August 16th, a month later.
About 2 weeks later.
How long were you in rehab?
For a month.
Is it a 30-day program?
Yeah, I'm presently in a halfway house.
Again. I can't get rid of you both fast enough. Mr. Rubash, Mr. Rubash, get clean and sober, sir. You'll have a nice clear head. You'll have a nice clear mind.
I know.
Good. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Mona Taylor is suing her son's ex-roommate, 18-year-old Melissa Murray, for breaking a lease. Melissa says Mona's son, 18-year-old Nevada Smith, was using drugs in the apartment.
You're Nevada.
Yes.
Stand up next to your mother, please. Nevada, you still 17?
No, I'm 18 now.
Miss Murray, how old are you?
18.
Was he your boyfriend?
No, ma'am.
Just a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Taylor, this is your case. Your husband relocated to Alaska for work.
Right.
You remained in Washington so that Nevada could finish high school. At the end of the school year, you moved to Alaska to be with your husband. Nevada elected to stay in Washington. These two children were going to rent an apartment together. Since he was underage, you had to sign the lease.
They wouldn't allow me to sign the lease. That's why Melissa agreed to move in and sign the lease. I was going to pay the first 2 months' rent and the pet deposit. And
pet deposit?
Yes, because they were going to keep my little dog for me until I could get him to Alaska.
Yes.
So I was paying the rent for 2 months in order for him then to be 18, and they could pay their own rent from July on.
Okay. You moved in when?
May 1st.
When did you move out, Nevada?
We moved out about a week to 10 days later.
Tell me why, Nevada.
Originally, when Melissa and I moved into the apartment together, things were going okay for about the first couple of days. After that, she started getting controlling. I had to be home at a certain time. I had to clean up after myself, things like that, which were okay. She just was being controlling, and she comes home, and I was in my bedroom, and Samantha and I were cleaning a pipe.
Pipe? What kind of pipe?
A marijuana
pipe?
Yes.
You should have cleaned the kitchen, which is what she was complaining about, instead of cleaning the marijuana pipe. Yes, go ahead.
So we were going to leave to actually go smoke, and Melissa came barging in and freaking out, screaming that it was her apartment, saying that she paid the rent and stuff like that.
Was she going to do drugs in the apartment?
Because I was in my room and I was cleaning the pipe.
Was she screaming because you were going to do drugs
Yes.
in the apartment,
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you were screaming at him?
Yes, ma'am.
So, you left?
Yes.
What do you want from her, Miss Taylor?
I had called and left like 5 messages because Nevada had called me, said that things weren't going good. Melissa was screaming at him.
Did he tell you why, Miss Taylor?
He did.
What did he say?
He said, because, Mom, I was experimenting with pot. But a few days earlier, him and Melissa and Samantha were all 3 experimenting with pot and drinking. So it wasn't just
You mean in the apartment?
Yeah, we were drinking alcohol in the apartment.
I didn't ask you about drinking alcohol. I asked you about doing drugs in the apartment.
We were at a party, so it wasn't at the apartment, no.
But also, the night that Samantha was cleaning her pipe, they weren't going to get stoned in the apartment. They were leaving.
What do you want from Miss Murray?
What I want from Miss Murray is she, at any time, she could have called me, Your Honor, and said, I don't want to stay with this lease. I would have flew back to Washington. I would have stayed with Nevada till he turned 18. She also kept hitting my dog. The 2 of them agreed to keep my dog. She kept hitting it off the furniture. My furniture that was in their apartment. I mean, my dog lived on that furniture. He's just a little poodle. She kept smacking him. Nevada, I'm not going to have this dog on the furniture in this house. The dog, that was the dog's couch.
Miss Taylor.
Yes?
What possible theory do you have that Miss Murray owes you any money?
Because she broke the lease after she agreed to live there till he turned 18.
I wouldn't live there with him if he brought drugs into the apartment. He exposed not only himself, but Miss Murray to criminal prosecution. I wouldn't stay with him for 1 second. I mean, if your cause of action is she was a friend, she could have called me. Well, that's possible. But idiot over here assumed that because his mother wasn't around anymore, he could do what he wanted to do. Well, he can't. He can do what he wants to do if he's got his own place, and if he is intent on experimenting with drugs in his own place, that's up to him and the police department. But he can't expose Miss Murray to that. So if he did the wrong thing, and she wanted out, she has a right to go. And according to your complaint, you were going to pay the first 2 months' rent, and she was going to pay starting with the 3rd month. There wasn't the 3rd month. There wasn't even a 2nd month. There wasn't even a 2nd week. But according to Nevada, the reason there wasn't a 2nd week is because she got nuts because they were cleaning drug paraphernalia in the apartment. That's what he told me. Is that right, Nevada?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is case number 133 on the calendar in the matter of Gary versus Osmond Peterschmidt.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Ms. Geary, is your claim that Ms. Osman, who manages a rooming house, and Mr. Peter Schmidt, who was the owner of this house, wrongfully evicted you from your room? You want $5,000.
Yes,
for
Your Honor.
wrongful eviction. Ms. Osman and Mr. Peter Schmidt say that you broke, but they did not evict you. You chose to leave, and they didn't lock you out. They merely changed the locks after you left to prevent some of your odd boyfriends from coming into the house without permission. They also have a counterclaim for some rent and damaged property that I doubt that they would have pursued but for this lawsuit. Is that also correct?
Yes.
That's my sense. When did you move into this rooming house, Ms. Geary?
I believe it was the 1st of January.
Where did you live before?
I lived in Davenport.
What kind of place?
It was a nice Victorian place with 4 apartment complexes in it.
And how long did you live there?
Probably, I'd say 5 months.
Why did you leave?
Let's see. I don't remember why I moved. It was probably because to get a different place that was less money.
What was the name of your previous landlord?
Betty, I can't remember her last name, Betty.
Did you have a lease there?
Yes, I did.
Did you break the lease when you left?
Yes, but it was she let me.
I just want to know if you broke the lease when you left.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you moved in January of 2005. When did you move out?
The 25th of April. I was locked out. I moved out 4/19.
Did you pay rent in January, February, March, and April?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far, is everything correct, Ms. Osman, that you moved in January and moved out April 19th?
She was told to be out on April 18th. Her and Ted had an altercation in the kitchen. Carrie was supposed to have had some rent money for him that day.
Had she paid rent at the beginning of April?
She paid $300. Actually, her mother paid $300.
How much did she owe?
There was still a balance of $70. She also had cable and laundry facilities that she was using that she had to pay for. And that's where the $70 came up. And also, she says she was renting for 5 months beforehand. On her application, I have a DeWitt address and there for a year.
Well, she lied someplace, either here or there. What was it?
I just always put that for mailing address. I didn't put my former landlord because we had a little tiff, so I
assumed you did. That's why I asked the question. I'm intuitive that way.
Right. I'll be honest with you.
Well, you weren't honest with her. So if Miss Osman went to check your references, she wasn't going to be able to find out where you would live previously, correct?
Correct.
Well, that was dishonest, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because you didn't want her to find out that you left your previous apartment.
Correct.
Under circumstances where your previous landlord would have given you a negative report.
Correct.
Now, you want to tell me why you asked her to leave?
For one, she rented this room for herself. She moved in with numerous items, so much that she had to store stuff in the garage, in the kitchen.
All right, but you tolerated that.
She was given 2 weeks to get a storage unit and sort through the stuff, decide what she wanted in the room and what was going to be stored.
And did she do that?
No.
Ever?
No.
You mean the stuff was all over your house?
Yes.
Until April?
Until May, when she finally picked it up.
Why didn't you get your stuff out?
I had my stuff in the garage.
It wasn't supposed to be in the garage. You had 2 weeks to
They said that I could leave it in there. They said that was fine because they weren't using anything in the garage.
Is that right?
I kept giving her extensions, but I told her to get it to the side, get it out of the area so I could get the lawnmower and things out.
She wanted your stuff out. You kept making excuses why you couldn't get it out. She was being a nice person. That doesn't say you had an agreement you could leave it there. Ms. Geary?
Correct.
Okay. What's next?
On the first occasion that I met her boyfriend, Ted and I were in the kitchen and we had water coming through the upstairs ceiling, the shower that she shared with another roommate there. I go upstairs, I knock on the bathroom door, and she asked me to block the way so she could get him over to her room. And then she helped me clean up the mess.
And he was in the shower?
Yes, with her.
And so there was a flood?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's a problem. Did you pay for the damage? That's not a hard question.
No.
Did you pay for
it
the
wasn't
damage?
my damages. It was a pipe that was broke. It was nothing to do with me, Your Honor.
We couldn't determine actually what caused the leak. But
she told me that it was
two...
nothing to do with me.
What's next?
Then her and one of the other roomers had an argument. The other roomer moved out due to the fact that we received a phone call while I had him at a doctor's office saying that Dion was in the house alone, that he had threatened her.
You mean this is Dion?
Yes.
You may stand up. You have a last name?
Peters.
What do you do for a living?
Well,
Well is not an answer.
I work at my uncle's restaurant.
Sometimes.
Yes.
How infrequently do you work at your uncle's restaurant?
Like every 2 days.
He has income coming in every month.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Don't speak unless I'm speaking to you. How many times were you in Miss Geary's home when Miss Geary was not present?
About twice.
Could it have been 3 times?
Yeah, it could have been 3 times, Your Honor.
Could it have been 4 times?
No.
So 3 times?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, what were you doing there the 3 times that you were there when Miss Geary wasn't home?
I was in her room, sleeping, Your Honor.
How did you get in?
Carrie.
She wasn't there. How did you get in?
I mean, she was there when, she let me in.
Did she give you a key?
No. No,
Did
Your
you
Honor.
ever use a key to get in?
No, Your Honor.
Did you know you weren't supposed to be there unless she was there?
No, Your Honor.
Did you know he wasn't supposed to be there?
No.
Your Honor, she showed him where the hidden key was.
Yeah.
So he's walking into the house all the time.
I didn't show him where the key was at. He did see where the key was at, and I wouldn't have someone around me that I couldn't trust.
It's not for you to make that judgment, Miss Geary. If you want to show us somebody who is not a tenant, who doesn't live there, where a hidden key is that's to be used for tenants only, then I suggest you don't live in a rooming house.
Correct. I agree.
Good. So far I hear a lot of good reasons why they evicted you. A lot. I would have evicted you a lot sooner.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was being put...
Her former landlords, Chris Osman and Ted Peterschmidt, owe for an illegal eviction. The defendants are countersuing for unpaid rent and damages to their property.
Listen, Miss Geary, the first thing that you did that I would have evicted you for is lying on your rental application. That's the reason.
Okay.
Don't give me a reason.
All right.
Because it's hard to believe what a liar says.
Well, it's because I was at my mom's half of the time.
Listen to me, Miss Geary. The first reason that I would have evicted you is because what you did was not permit a prospective landlord to look into your background to determine whether you were a suitable tenant for their home, and you did that by giving them false information, knowing that if they called your prior landlord would say, "Don't rent to her, she's nothing but trouble." You just told me that a moment ago. You just told me. You want to change that now?
I don't want to change anything, but I would like to add something.
Go ahead.
I would like to add that I did verbally tell them that I was living in Davenport, and I used a mailing address in DeWitt. I remember.
Listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does it change anything that I just said to you? You gave them false information on your application because you wanted to prevent them from checking your background.
Okay.
So that's the first reason that I would evict you.
I wasn't.
Second reason that I would evict you is they rented to you, and they rented to other roomers. You permitted a stranger to have access to that hidden key, knowing that it was a hidden key to be used by tenants,
yes, Your Honor.
not their friends or shower mates.
Correct.
That's the second reason I would have evicted you. Third reason I would have evicted you is you were behind in your rent.
May I add something? I would like to tell you that I moved into a room across the hall, and if I was such a bad tenant, I don't know why they would allow me a month and a half after I was there to move into a new room.
They were being very nice to you, Miss Geary. They were also being very nice to you by allowing you to keep all your junk around. And you misinterpret, Miss Geary, being nice.
My junk
I'm
was out of
speaking.
sight.
I'm
Sorry,
speaking.
Your Honor.
You misinterpret being nice and saying, "Please move it." I'm
doesn't-
speaking.
Okay.
With giving you permission to keep your stuff there. They wanted it out. You just didn't do it. You're a passive-aggressive personality. I would have gotten rid of you long before April. As soon as I found out, if I ever found out that you lied on your rental application, I would have gotten rid of you. You have no case for wrongful eviction. They had every right to get rid of you. Aside from everything else, you owed them rent, even if it was just a little bit of rent. Listen, I got it. She's a trouble tenant.
I'm not a trouble tenant.
Trouble.
There's another problem that we have.
Go ahead.
Since she's left, we received a phone call from Dion's ex-girlfriend where she had been making long-distance phone calls, and I have pages of phone bills. They're 1-minute calls numerous times.
Made by whom?
By Carrie.
To the girlfriend?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
That wasn't to the girlfriend.
Just a second.
And I was
just a second.
Okay.
Who was it? Who was it to?
It was to Dion. I never called his girlfriend.
Just a second.
Your
Listen
Honor,
to me.
his ex-girlfriend called my aide and told us that I was being put on the national harassers telephone list because of all these phone
She's a
calls.
nut. You're very lucky she doesn't live in your house anymore. Can I make a suggestion to you? I'm looking at these phone calls. You're a nut. Are you taking medication? Do you take medication?
Do I take medication?
Is my question.
For ADD, and that was locked up for 3.5 weeks that I could not get to, and that's
Listen,
one
Miss
of...
Geary,
Yes.
We would not be going through this if you didn't bring on this ridiculous lawsuit for wrongful eviction. You want $5,000.
I didn't get.
Yeah, I
any-
want to tell
they
you
didn't go
something.
to
I'm
court.
speaking. I'm looking at these phone calls that you made to his ex-girlfriend's
I didn't
house.
make that.
214. Whose number is that?
That's my cell phone number.
It's your cell phone.
Yes, Your Honor. Things are getting twisted here.
You mean she called you at 1-minute intervals, approximately 30 times a day? Is that what you're saying? Don't speak. Is that what you're telling me, Dion? That she called at least 30 times a day at 1-minute intervals?
The phone wasn't
I'm
working.
Your Honor, well, she could have, but I'm not for sure, because I had 2 phones, so...
Now, Dion, listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
Because you don't want to fall on the tip of my nose. I guarantee you don't, because you don't know pain until you fall over here. See, she's just figured out pain. You don't want to get there, do you?
No, Your Honor.
Is the second cell phone at your girlfriend's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
No.
I don't speak. Did you get your medicine back? Take it every day.
Carrie Geary says her former landlords, Chris Osman and Ted Peterschmidt, owe for an illegal eviction. The defendants are countersuing for unpaid rent and damages to their property.
Listen to me. You have an obligation if you run a boarding house, and your obligation is to check on somebody's
Normally I
credentials.
check.
Listen to me.
Ted rented this one.
Ted, you are a very poor judge of character.
It was a situation that,
Ted.
okay.
Ted.
In that situation, you bet.
Ted. In a minute,
Yep.
if you have a nose for trouble, you can spot it. You don't have it, sir.
My aide checks everything now.
I want you to thank your lucky stars. You locked her out. She's gone. Right?
That's for sure.
That's for sure. You don't want to pursue that. You just want her to be gone, right? Right. Good. Your lawsuit is dismissed. I would have evicted you January 2nd.
Your Honor, it was dismissed.
Just a second.
Sure.
That's my ruling.
Okay,
You
thank
have
you.
no case for wrongful eviction. They rightfully evicted you. You were a bad tenant.
Okay.
James Sanchez and his mother, Joanne Neri, for 2 unpaid loans. Aubrey says she loaned Joanne money to move and James money to fix his truck.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Ellsworth versus Neri Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Ellsworth, this young man used to be your boyfriend, and you are Miss...
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you lived for a period of time with your boyfriend and his mother, and you made each of them a series of loans. His mother at some point told you to leave the house. You left. You want your money. Each of the defendants say that they owe you nothing. This money that you gave Miss Neri was for expenses, your expenses while you lived in the house. And her son, James, says anything that you gave him were gifts because he took care of certain things for you. When did you move in with Miss Neri and her son?
In June of 2004.
And what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was working for Forever 21.
Now tell me about the first loan you made to Mrs. Neri.
The loan I had made to Mrs. Neri was for $2,000. She said she had needed it for the down payment on the house that we were going to move into. She stated that she had asked her dad to borrow the money, and he had said no, and that I was the last resort, and if I couldn't loan her the money, we would have nowhere to live.
Where had you been living?
I had been living with them in an apartment.
So you all wanted to move someplace else together. Did you sign a lease?
Yes, I did.
On the new place?
On the new place, yes. I was told that I was not going to be a renter on the house, and that the only reason why I needed to sign the paperwork was because I was over 18.
You have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Well, the three of you were clearly on the lease, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, you read this document, didn't you?
I didn't read the whole thing, no.
Why not?
Because she said she needed it signed, and so she stated that,
Miss Ellsworth, you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
Bakersfield College.
I assume that at least in your spare time when you were younger, you watched a little television?
Yes, I do.
You watched enough courtroom television to know that you're not supposed to sign something that you don't read?
Yes.
So let's not play with each other. So you signed it.
Yes.
And you should have read it. And if you didn't read it, that's not my problem.
Yeah. I did pay rent on the house.
Until you were evicted?
Yes, pretty much.
How much was security and the deposit on this apartment?
I think altogether was like $1,800. I'm not quite sure.
$1,850?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that money from?
from her because the reason why we had to move from the apartment is I was at the apartment for over a year already. I came home one day from work and she was living in my apartment. I told my son, look, this cannot work. You know, I don't want her living here. You know, she has a home. She told me she had nowhere to go because her mom was an abusive mother. So, you know, I kind of felt sorry for her. So the next thing I knew, her dog Louie, she has a little dog Louie, he was tearing up the curtains and everything. So I'm a single mommy. I couldn't just come up with that money just to move. So, you know, I had no choice. I asked my dad, and my dad goes, well, it's your fault. You should have never let her move in. You know, why you have to move? Because the reason why we had to move, because she wasn't on the lease. It was breach of contract, they said.
I can understand if you're moving in together, she's on a lease, she should pay a third of $1,850.
Okay, we moved in that home after we got kicked out of the apartment.
Listen to me. You don't have to get kicked out of the apartment. All you have to do is put the two of them out. And you can stay.
Right.
Well, he's not going anywhere without her. You could stay. Put them out.
No, she said we had to move.
Listen to me. $1,850. Only a third of that. She's on the lease. Only a third of that is hers.
Right.
Why did you throw her out?
I didn't throw her out. She was there. Her and my son were always arguing. It got to the point where I'd come out of work and I didn't want to go home anymore. She was possessive with my son, very possessive with my son.
Did you tell her to leave?
He got upset because I came home one day, the place was dirty. I figured if I'm working, in their home, they should at least have the place clean. We got in an argument. My son heard me say, me and my son were arguing. She got up and she left. I didn't verbally say, oh, Aubrey, you have to leave.
She had told me all the time that I had brought sin into her house and that I was bringing chaos and that she didn't want me living there. Her son told me numerous times, I don't have to leave, it's you that has to leave. My mom doesn't want you living here. She threatened to kick him out all the time. She threatened to kick me out all the time just to have, in my opinion, a control.
What?
First of all, my mom never kicked her out. Me and Aubrey used to argue a lot. Yeah, we did.
So it's a good thing she left, right?
No, I don't know if it's a good thing.
Listen to what I said. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and start listening to my question. So it's a good thing that she left?
Yes.
For the sake of argument,
I'm speaking to you.
Hey.
Yeah, give him a good one.
Okay.
So it's a good thing that she left?
Yes, but she wasn't told to leave.
No, it came to her by mental telepathy, like Karnak, you know. You wanted her to leave, and your mother wanted her to leave.
Honestly, no, I didn't want her to leave. Honestly,
He
I
didn't.
didn't.
He was upset and crying. I didn't ask her to leave because she was still on the lease. It was up to, like, I think March. She left on her own. She came out storming, and she left on her own. That's the honest to God
All right, you
truth.
got $1,850, Miss Ellsworth. That she has to give you back. I don't believe. How old are you?
In my 30s, late 30s.
30, in my 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
What kind of an answer is that? How old are you?
39.
She's 18. You're 21 years her senior. She
Right.
doesn't support you. You take care of her. All right. Don't go into little things with me. I'm not interested in little things. What does he owe you for?
He owes me for his truck. I helped him fix his truck. I got him a new tire, which was $76. And then I had helped him fix his truck because he had gotten rear-ended February of 2004. He could not...
February of 2004?
Yes.
Where were you for the last year?
I've been trying to collect it. We didn't get the truck, though, starting to fix until September.
Does that make sense to you?
She didn't give me all the money.
What did she give you?
I paid her half of the money back.
What did she give you is my question.
All she gave me was $150 because I paid $150 of it back to her, so it totaled out to $300. And with my $150 coming back to her, it canceled out. And then I went and paid a couple months of rent for her that she didn't pick up on. And this whole thing, we both assumed that we were just going to break it off even like that. Because, like, I mean, we were living together, and it's like, then when we break up, she goes, oh, well, now you owe me for this, and you owe me for that.
Do you want to know something, Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah.
I agree with you. How's that?
I mean, like,
I agree with you.
I honestly believe if we were still together...
Just a second. Give it to him good.
I honestly...
Give it to him good. Miss
I
Leary.
honestly...
Miss Leary. Good. Give it to him good. Because he doesn't get it. I just said I agree with you.
Okay.
Stop. No more.
Listen to your mother.
Can I just add one last thing, then?
Why do you want to add something? I just said I agree with you.
Don't.
You want to tell her you love her? You want to get married? You want to propose to her here?
No, I already have
Then
another
just listen to your mother.
girlfriend.
Your mother's telling you to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my
Ex-boyfriend and his mother owe her money. James Sanchez and Joanne Neri claim Aubrey is controlling and possessive.
When you're in a relationship and you have $100 here and $76 there and $40 there and $50 there, courts don't want to get involved with that if the relationship doesn't work out.
It wasn't my truck.
I don't care whose truck it was. It wasn't my truck.
You drove it.
It was a truck that
Like
you
it was
at least
yours?
rode in. That's what you do when people live together.
Not when it gets impounded. He got it in.
Listen, Miss
You didn't
Ellsworth.
have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving you to
Sanchez,
work and
you
back.
want me to, you want your mother to slap you upside the head?
No.
She's going to do it. Right?
Yeah.
Next time he opens his mouth, Miss Neary, give it to him good. You don't have a lawsuit against Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez and you live together in a monogamous physical relationship, and I'm certain that during the time that you lived together, you went out to eat, he paid, sometimes you paid, other times you went to a movie, you went to a fair, you went out, he bought you a Frankfurter, he bought you a cup of coffee, you bought him,
I wish
whatever
it were
it
like
is.
that.
Whatever
It's
it
hard
is.
to be like that if you're as jealous as you are. If you weren't so jealous, it could have been better.
No, no, no.
I
Harder!
I have a restraining order on him.
Harder!
so-
Judgment for the plaintiff,
there's a
that is
court-
Miss Neary, in the amount of $1,850. Your lawsuit with regard to Mr. Sanchez is dismissed. That's all.
How does that Susan to step out?
He became violent with me, and he started stalking me, following me, going to my job.
As far as harassing and stalking, she was the one writing me letters all day in class and following me and my new girlfriend outside of school.
He wanted to marry me. He wanted to be with me. It became an obsession that became violent.
Versus Falk. Step forward, please.
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October.
2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiance.
Who's now your husband?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Miss Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift, and the bridesmaid's dress she says she paid for even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Miss Richter and her fiancé, Miss Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got me into trouble at my employment, I was taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
Where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to the cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all 4 of
I
his
don't
roommates'
understand the
cards.
instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can't play with it.
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing, in effect, you were stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
Well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Bird to falsify a document for me, and I've known him for a very long time, 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represented by an attorney with regard to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked
I
her?
had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or two of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested. And I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call. And he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place.
You went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because that's just, I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months, and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back?
Don't
tell me what she understood.
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000 to have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
well,
used
just
his
a
credit
second.
card.
Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what.
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was
on the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. Sounds right to me. $815 so far. Now let's hear about the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress. I was get married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it.
Don't assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress, expect her to pay for a dress, is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $850.
77 on the count in the matter of Rodriguez versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Johnson was your girlfriend for a
Yes.
period of time, and it is your claim that on 2 occasions she caused an accident which damaged your truck, and you want her to pay to have your truck repaired.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson acknowledges that there were 2 accidents in the truck while she was driving. Her answer seems to indicate that you told her at the time it was no big deal and you would take care of fixing them. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that you have bad temper, that you damaged the apartment by putting holes in the wall with your fist, and that at one point you assaulted her. That's her counterclaim. Is that right?
Yes.
Who is this lady?
That's my daughter's mother.
Can you tell me why she's here?
She was a witness to a phone call that I spoke with Elizabeth about my payments to my truck for the damages, and she heard the conversation with her.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter's 2.
Is that your only child?
I have 2 other children, too.
You thought about that for a second. How old are your other 2 children?
I got one that's 10 and one that's 8.
And who do they live with?
They live with their mother.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rodriguez?
I'm a union carpenter,
How much do you earn a year?
roughly about $40,000.
And your 8 and 10-year-old, they live with their mother? And what
Yes.
does their mother do for a living?
She's just a stay-at-home mom.
You must be very wealthy.
No,
Well, who supports your 8 and 10-year-old children?
I do.
How much do you send them?
I send the mother probably about $500-600 a month.
You send her about $500 or $600.
It all depends on how much money she needs throughout the month.
You have a court order, sir?
No.
Even if I believed, sir, that you sent her $500 a month, she's not supporting herself and 2 children on $500 a month. How does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
She lives with a boyfriend?
Yes.
And he supports her?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
I'm not even sure.
Don't you see your children?
Yes.
And you have no idea? Well, how often do you see your children?
I see them like probably about 3 times a month.
Somehow, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not getting the sense that I'm getting truthful answers from you, sir. But I'm going to find out. Now, this young lady who's here has a 2-year-old child.
Yes.
You under court order to pay her support?
Yes.
How much?
I pay her $83 a week, a total of $103 a week for arrears, $20 towards arrears of child support.
So there was a time when you weren't paying child support?
Yes, before I got into the union.
And how much do you owe her?
Right now, the remaining balance on her is $600 and some change.
And how does she support herself?
She has a full-time job.
Who takes care of the baby?
Daycare.
Pays for the daycare?
Her and I both share daycare.
How much do you pay towards the daycare?
$43 a week.
So far, is all that correct?
Yes.
$1,221 a month you pay out.
Yes.
How do you get there? Who do you live with?
I live with my mom.
You pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
$300 a month.
You have a car?
Yes.
Pay insurance?
Yes.
How much?
That's $2,300 every 6 months.
$22,000, like $23,000. We're up to $23,000, right?
Yes.
You see where I'm going, sir? You eat?
Yes.
You have credit cards?
No.
Pay for everything in cash?
Yes.
You have a truck payment?
Yes. $387 a month.
$400 a month?
Yes.
So now we're up to about $30,000 a year.
I also work a second job, full-time.
Oh, the courts know about that?
Yes.
Betcha. They don't. How much do you earn at, but they will now. How much do you earn at the second job?
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. I'm up to $7 an hour on that job. Sometimes I work 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week.
The reason I'm asking you all of these questions, Mr. Rodriguez, is I was really interested in Miss Johnson's answer. While she acknowledged that she was in these minor accidents with your car, there was a little damage, she says that her mother, I assume this is her mother,
Yes.
was nice enough to loan you $6,000 to pay back child support.
Your Honor, that wasn't all for child support.
What was it for?
Well, it was $1,900 of it went to child support.
So $2,000, according to you, went for
Yes.
child support. And the
Yes.
other $4,000?
The other $4,000, I paid some bills that I had that were passed out. And then it was like $2,000 of it that me and Elizabeth went out and spent.
You borrowed $6,000 from her and you signed a note?
Yes.
Have you paid it back?
I have.
Oh, is not an answer.
No.
When did you borrow the money?
May 6th.
I believe it was like July 24th.
May 6th.
Or May 6th, may have been May 6th.
May, July, they sound alike. Why haven't you paid it back?
Elizabeth got a restraining order against me, and the judge told me not to make any contact with them whatsoever.
Are you mad? I mean, is that the reason you're giving me? You have to understand, Mr. Rodriguez. I can tell phonies from at least 10 feet away. The fact that she's got a restraining order against you doesn't mean you can't send a Federal Express to our mother with a payment.
I asked the judge that. He said no contact whatsoever if she wanted her
Are
money
you
from
kidding me? You mean that but for that, the money would have been in her hands already?
Yes. I went to court today to restraining order, and I had to check for her.
Good. Perfect. Do you have it with you?
No, not today.
What do you know? I would have taken it for her. You've got a spare check in your wallet?
No,
Take a look.
I didn't bring any checkbooks or nothing today.
See why I don't trust you, Mr. Rodriguez? Because you tell such good stories. You may tell them over and over again. And you actually believe that you can come here and tell me a story.
Your Honor, it's not a story.
Which irritates me.
It's not a story.
Which irritates me. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, you knew you were coming to a neutral setting today. You knew that you owed this lady the money. Nothing would have prevented you from saying, Judge, while I'm here, because I'm asking you as a court of equity to take care of this problem that I have, I want to take care of my debts, and I owe her $6,000. So I would really like to be able to give you the check for her, because I have the money. I'd like to give you the check so that you can give it to her and I won't be violating any restraining order. You got it.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Johnson, I want you to tell me about the first accident you had with Mr. Rodriguez's car.
I was picking him up from work. It was a little wet out, and the tractor trailer was coming into my lane, so I hit the brakes and I hit the guardrail instead of him hitting me, so that's what happened.
And how much damage was done to the car?
I have pictures.
I'd like to see it. And what was the date of that incident?
I'm not exactly sure. It's sometime in June. This is side of the damage.
And I'd like you to keep your voice up because, you know, my hearing isn't what it used to be when I was 12. you did damage to the light and to the bumper. What year truck is this, Mr. Rodriguez?
A 98.
Did you cover this on your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I didn't call it into the insurance company because I feel as though, why should my insurance go on my truck?
Okay. Did she say she would fix it?
Yes, she did.
Fix it.
23-15-09.
And tell me about the second accident,
The
Ms.
second
Johnson.
accident, we were driving to a second job, and he was arguing with me, and I was stopped at a red light, and the light turned green, and he was still arguing with me, and I looked over at him, and I thought the cars were going, so I started to go, and then I tapped somebody in the back because he had stopped.
You have a picture of the damage?
I don't have a picture
Your
of
Honor,
that.
I have
There's a
pictures.
little dent in the middle of the...
I'd like to see it.
There are pictures of the car that she hit in my truck also.
Well, that's the same bumper that's going to have to be repaired. When they take the bumper off and they fix it from the first accident, they're going to fix the second one.
Well, the first one when she hit, it was only the side fender and the light, and
No,
a couple
no,
of
no, no,
scratches
no,
on
no,
the
it
side of
wasn't.
the bumper.
It wasn't. It was down here. And here.
Yes.
And this one is right in the middle, right here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, when they take it off, they'll fix them both. Now, that's your case. What makes you think he forgave this debt?
He told me when he was trying to get back with me after I broke up with him, he said, don't worry about it, I'll pay for it. That's what he said.
No.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Now, is that your complaint against
Also,
us?
I have an estimate from the car rental because I'm going to need to rent a car for a week.
Take the bus. Maybe she'll loan you her car. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
He damaged my holes in the wall. I mean, the holes in the wall.
You have pictures of that?
Yes. The bruise on
When
my
did
arm.
that happen?
The 22nd of July.
Tell me what happened.
I asked, some girl called his phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And he hung up on her, so I called her back. She told me that they had conversations, and he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her, I didn't talk to her. And he swore up and down all three of his kids that
Just
he
a
didn't
sec.
talk to her.
I didn't follow this from the beginning. You have to go through this slowly for me. You know, I'm not really up on this intrigue. You found somebody's number on his phone?
She had called his cell phone. He picked up the phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And then he hung up on her. He got out of the truck to unload a car because we were at his job, and so I called her back. And we were talking.
What'd you do that for?
Just to ask her a
Curious.
question. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have any arguments with the girl on the phone, nothing. So I called her back, and she told me that they had conversations, and then we hung up. When he got back in the truck, I asked him if he had talked to her, and he said, no, I didn't talk to her, and he swore up and down on all his kids that he didn't talk to her. You know, for about 3 hours, he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her. So he told me, go ahead, check on the Sprint bill. So I went and checked on the Sprint bill. 33 minutes of conversation with the girl's number, and he didn't call her.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
I never denied talking to her.
Yes, you did.
So you had a fight?
It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, we were fighting, and he said, I'm tired. I said, well, I'm tired, too. If you didn't lie to me, we wouldn't be going through this. He got so pissed off of me, he picked up the candle off my TV with the glass dish, threw it at me, and hit the wall.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yes, it is.
How did the holes get in the wall, sir?
I seriously don't know. I did repairs on the mother's house for the bedroom, the bathroom, and the outside siding. Why would
That
I
has
damage a
nothing
house
to do
that I
with
just
the holes
fixed?
in the wall.
Just asked you how the holes got in the wall.
I have no clue.
Okay. Did you have the walls fixed?
Yeah, I have an estimate for that, to get them fixed.
Was this in your apartment?
This is in my mother's house, in my bedroom.
Was he staying with you?
Yes. For the 4 months that we were going out, he lived at my house.
Why?
Because she
I felt bad for him.
asked me to move in with her.
I did not.
After the first time that we went out, she asked me to move in with her.
Mr. Rodriguez, we've only just met, you and I.
Yes.
I can tell you're instantaneously attracted to me. If I said to you, I want you to move in with me, would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
That would be very smart, Mr. Rodriguez.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had marks on your...
Ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Johnson owes for 2 accidents with his truck.
I mean, it's so stupid what you said. I mean, do you think you're a stupid man?
No.
You just met her and she asked you to move in with us, so you moved in with her?
Yes.
You have a bridge?
For sale?
Yeah.
I can find one.
You can find one. Okay. According to what I read in your answer, there was something in your answer, Miss Johnson, that suggested to me that you were aware of the fact that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper. Is that right, madam?
Yes.
You did. And how did you know that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper?
With her. He told me stories. They've been in and out of court for 5 years.
Some
She
of it
tried
for-
to get a restraining order.
Some of it for domestic violence? Is that right?
Yes.
And despite all that, you invited Mr. Wonderful into your house.
Yes.
And your mother, who I don't even want to talk to, was dumb enough to give him money.
Yes.
You must live off a substantial inheritance.
No.
Where did you get the money from that you loaned to him?
I borrowed it off my credit card for him, so he would not go to jail for back child support, which was about $4,000.
Who did you owe back child support to? This lady or the mother of the other 2 children?
This lady.
Stand up. Over there. Did you pursue that matter in court? Of the back child support? Did you pursue it or did the state pursue it?
I didn't pursue it. They had already, when I had our daughter,
I had to call and enter a child support order. We had
Why?
Because we weren't together at the time.
Who was supporting you?
I was living home with my parents, and I had a job.
You never received any government assistance?
No.
So somebody had to report him for not paying child support. That would have had to have been you.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's all. Sit down. Now I got it. Now you say that during this altercation with the candlesticks, he also assaulted you.
Not at that time.
When did he assault you?
I had kicked him out on July 25th. We had a week of nasty phone calls because I wanted my stepfather's tools back that he wouldn't return. And then 2 weeks after that, I was at a funeral, and he called me, he texted me, he said, "I'm sorry about your grandfather," and then I talked to him again. 2 weeks, he was begging me to come back to him. "Please take me back, I'm sorry," and that's when.
Well, so then you said okay.
I said okay, and about 2 days later, I spent the night at his friend's house with him, and the next day is when I had to get a restraining order against him.
Well, tell me what happened at the friend's house. Well, you didn't learn your lesson yet, Miss Johnson.
Well, we got into an argument, and I wanted to go home, so he...
About what?
About anything and everything.
Your Honor, about one of my roommates that was walking around in a sports bra. That's
One of your...
A roommate,
Yeah.
on where I'm staying at now. She was walking around with a sports bra, doing her dishes, and her boyfriend was there with her, and she freaked out on me about her doing that. And I said to her, there was nothing I could do about her walking around with a sports bra on. It's her house, too. I can't say nothing to her.
No.
And this was all the day before I was supposed to go and have surgery that following Monday.
Surgery on?
I had some medical problems.
So we had an argument. Yeah, she was walking in a sports bra.
I don't care if she was walking in a sports bar or if she was walking around with a G-string. It makes no difference to me.
That
I
had
want
nothing
you
to
to
do.
tell me how it came about that you say he put his hands on you.
I'm getting there. So I asked him to take me home. So he took me home, and then on the way home, he, was buttering me up, so I agreed to go back. And about 3 hours later, we got into another argument because he was getting jealous because one of my friends was texting me. So then, I said, I want to go home. I want to go home. And he put his hands on me, and he grabbed me and said, no, stay. And I said, no, I want to go home. And I had my bag, I had everything in my hand. He just kept grabbing me, broke my cell phone. He threw it down the stairs. He swung his hands after he threw my cell phone down the stairs and hit me in the eye right here. He threw me onto the couch, onto the floor.
Have a police report?
I do, Your
I have
Honor.
the restraining order. The restraining order. The temporary
No, I
restraining
just
order.
wanted, I don't want to see the
You
restraining
want the
order. I want
restraining
to see a
orders
police
too? I got
report.
copies of them too.
Of what?
I got copies of the restraining orders too if you want to see them.
Then I'll ask for it. So you had marks on your face, and so did he, because you hit him and he hit you. Is
I
that
slapped
right?
him in the face after he threw me on the couch and onto the floor.
It says that you hit him twice.
No, I hit him.
It was more
I
than
hit
twice,
him.
Your Honor.
Yeah, but
After he-
according to the police report, you hit him twice.
After he threw my phone down the steps, I hit him on his back, and then he continued to grab me.
I assume you're not going to have anything to do with him anymore, is that right? I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Deal with it. You better smarten up, Miss Johnson. You don't look like a stupid girl, but you've done a lot of stupid things. Now, as far as your complaint is concerned, Mr. Rodriguez, I believe that she owes you for the damage that she acknowledges that she did to the truck. Your estimate was for 23.
I have an agreement, too.
It was for 23-15-09.
2315.
Yes, 09.
We are holding that judgment in abeyance, which means that you will not be getting paid on that judgment. You will get paid on that judgment when this court receives a canceled check, canceled by her, for the amount you owe her. Do you understand?
The full amount?
Do you understand?
$5,300.
Your Honor?
$5,300.
$5,300. When this court receives, sir, proof by way of a canceled check that you have paid the $5,300 remaining on your debt.
Even though we had an agreement signed?
$5,300, sir. When we receive proof that you have paid her, money that you acknowledge that you owe her, is that right?
Yes.
You'll get your check. Do you understand?
Yes.
Goodbye and good luck.
352 on the calendar in the matter of Chavarria versus Calic. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Chavarria, the defendant is your former girlfriend, according to your complaint, after an argument at your sister's house. Is this your sister?
That is correct.
Miss Calic assaulted you, and later she burned some clothes that you had been laundering at her house. Miss Calic says she didn't burn your clothes, she doesn't know what you're talking about, but that you assaulted her during this altercation, and she is counterclaiming. Now, when did this altercation take place at your sister's house?
On October 7, 2005.
Tell me about it.
I was in the process of moving my clothing from my friend's house to my mom's house. So I asked Erica if I can do my laundry at her mom's house, and she said yeah.
Why didn't you do the laundry at your mother's house?
Because she doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Do you have a key to that house?
No.
How did you get in?
Her brother was there.
Who was this?
That's her brother.
Did you let him into the house?
No, he wasn't there. Like, I don't remember him letting him in.
Don't speak. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and I did my laundry, and there's some things that I dry, and then there's other things that I hang up. So I hung up all my clothing in her closet.
You hung up wet clothes in her closet?
I hung up my jeans, some of my work shirts, a couple sweaters, and that's about it.
Go ahead.
So I went and picked her up at about 12:30.
Where did you pick her up from?
From school.
Where do you go to school?
At Spokane Community College.
What are you studying?
I'm going for administrative systems.
What time did he pick you up at school?
12:30.
And where did you go?
We went back to my house.
When you got back to your house, was his laundry dry or wet?
When he left them from his friend's house, they were still in his trunk. He never did laundry at my house. He was going to, but we ended up going to go look for apartments to live in.
How do you know they were in his trunk?
Because he had brought them from his friend Mike's house.
What I'm asking you, Ms. Calick, is how do you know his clothes were in his trunk?
Okay, I don't know. I'm assuming that they were.
Fine. What did you go to your house for?
Because we went and got a paper, and we sat there at my house and circled apartments and called and made appointments to go look at the apartments.
Where was your brother?
He was in his room.
Did you see him there?
Yes.
Did you go into his room?
Yes.
He didn't come out to you. You went into his room.
Well, not at this time. He was...
I'm just asking you a question.
No, I went into his room.
That's what I asked you. Next.
When we were looking for apartments, we went to one place, and we didn't really like it, so we decided to go to my sister's house, Clarissa. Me and Clarissa's ex-boyfriend went to the store, and when I came back, my friend Mike said Erica's in the room talking to her ex-boyfriend. So I went to listen on the phone to see if it was true, and she was on the phone
talking. Just a second. What do you mean you went to listen in on the phone?
I went into my sister's room to
And you picked up the extension?
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Okay. Then I went into the room and asked Erica why she was calling her ex-boyfriend, and then she said, "Why do you care?" And I was like, "Because I'm your boyfriend." I was like, "Would you want me to be calling my ex-girlfriend at one of your brother or sister's house and then be trying to hide it from my sisters like you're going to go cheat on me or something?" Then she got up and she's like, "Oh, you're always so jealous," and she started cussing me out and screaming at me. Then I took the phone from her, and then that's
How
when
did you get the phone from her?
Because I told her to leave.
Well, so far all I'm hearing is, and I said to her, how would you think you would feel if it were me talking to an ex-girlfriend at your brother's house? And I took the phone from her. Tell me how you took the phone from her, sir. The phone is in her hand, yes.
And I grabbed the phone from her.
Okay, well, now we get to the grab part. Her hand, and what happened when you grabbed the phone from her hand?
I told her to leave my sister's house.
You grabbed the phone from her hand. Did she pull back?
No.
She just gave you the phone?
She didn't give it to me. She tried to keep it in her hand.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Pay careful attention. Life has a certain rhythm to it. There are certain natural things that happen. Yeah. And when you get to be my age, things become more natural. You know, if it doesn't make sense, it usually doesn't happen. So that she's talking to the ex-boyfriend on the phone. You go to grab the phone out of her hand. She pulls back. You pull back. So now you're in a struggle for the phone, right?
Correct.
And then what happened, sir?
So I had the phone in my hand.
How did you do that?
I took the phone from her hand.
You overpowered her.
That is correct.
And?
And then that's when she hit me in my temple and once in my nose. And then I pushed her. And during the whole thing, that's when my sister walked in and was trying to pull us away from each other. And so I was walking outside, and that's when Erica pulled me back in and was hitting me all over in my neck, in my chest, in my back. And then I hit her in the eye because it was for self-defense. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't get away from her.
So the police came, and what happened when the police came?
Okay, before the police came, I was outside smoking a cigarette, and then Mercedes, Erica's daughter, came outside and asked me if I can give them a ride home. I said, yeah, and that's when Erica came barging outside and slammed the door open, and this door hit Mercedes in the face and gave her a bloody nose. And I was like, Erica, what are you doing? And then she said, look at my eye. And then I was like, look at my face, Erica. Look at what you did. If you didn't hit me first, I wouldn't have to defend myself.
What injuries did you have on your face?
I had cuts and bruises above my eye, under my eye. I had a couple lumps on my head. And
when the police came, did they arrest you?
No.
Did they arrest her?
No, because she wasn't there. She left before the police came.
Did you file my part of the story? Because this...
I'm going to get to you.
Okay. Well, no.
I'm going to get to you.
Okay.
Does anybody have a copy of the police report?
No.
No.
According to the plaintiff, you had a prior incident involving domestic violence with him. Is that true?
Correct.
When was that?
June 2nd, 2005.
Were you taken into custody on that day?
Yes, I was.
How did you assault him?
I slapped him.
So that you're not a stranger to slapping him.
Oh, no. I've done it before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just because you're the...
Gabriel Chavarria, says ex-girlfriend Erica Kallick owes for burning his clothes and punching him, claiming Gabriel gave her a black eye.
What happened when he pulled the phone away from you?
He didn't even pull the phone away from me.
So tell me what happened when he came into the bedroom, which you acknowledged that he did.
Yes.
Came into the bedroom and you got into a heated argument about you're allegedly speaking to a former boyfriend.
I wasn't speaking to anybody. It was his friend Mike that was talking to my ex-boyfriend because they're friends, and they were going to go out to a party or something.
So you never got on the phone to say hello?
No, never.
So when he came inside and said, what's going on? Let me hear.
He stood up and, well, I stood up because I was on the... And
what were you doing sitting on the floor?
We were all sitting on the floor.
Who's all?
Me, his friend Mike, and his other sister.
You mean the two of you weren't alone in the room at the time?
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
And I stood up because he got on the other line and he heard my ex-boyfriend talking, but I wasn't speaking to him. So he came in and said that I was trying to call him, and it's just common sense that why I wouldn't call my ex-boyfriend at his sister's house. So I stood up and he was calling me all these names and pushed me, so I pushed him back and he hit me in the room. It wasn't in the living room or where he said it was. It was in the room, and I fell back on the bed and got up and then pushed him again, and we just kind of got in a fight, but I didn't punch him or slap him or anything. And then he had a scratch right here, and that was the only thing that he had. I have pictures.
Just a second. He had a scratch from what?
Well, I'm guessing I scratched him. I don't remember.
Well, you must have scratched him because according to you, all I heard was I pushed him.
No, and then we got into a fight. But I didn't punch him or anything, like you said.
You scratched him?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
I guess.
Let me ask you this question, madam. If you scratched him and he just had a little scratch over here, you think that he overreacted by punching you in the eye?
Yes, I do.
That's too bad. If you put your hands on somebody and scratch them, give them a little scratch, sometimes you get, listen to me, sometimes you get the worst of the deal. Somebody's going to get the bad part of a bargain every time there's an altercation, a physical altercation. Somebody's going to get hurt a little bit more than another person. And just because you're the woman doesn't give you the right to put your hands on another person. And if you put your hands on another person, you hurt them a little bit, and they hurt you a lot, that comes under the category of too bad.
It was in self-defense, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Listen to me. That comes under the category of too bad. You can't scratch him and then say, well, I can scratch you, but you better not punch me in the eye. You better not give me a black eye. Now, when he gave you the black eye, were you angry?
Of course.
And then you went home with your daughter. Now, did you hurt your daughter that day?
No, I didn't. She got a bloody nose, but I did not do it.
Well, who did it?
I don't know.
That should have been your primary concern, not your black eye, how your 4-year-old daughter got a bloody nose.
It wasn't. That was not my concern.
Listen to me. Because according to him, he says he knows how your daughter got it. You came, you opened the door on her face, and that's how she got a bloody nose. Then you put her in the car and you took her home. When did you notice her bloody nose?
Right away, right when it happened.
Well, if you noticed it right when it happened, how did it happen?
Because my back was faced toward her, and then she started crying. I said, what happened? She goes, I got hit in the nose, and it was bleeding. That's the only thing. Then I grabbed her and walked downstairs and walked to my mom's work because he wouldn't give me a ride home.
Let me see an inventory, sir, about what you allege was in her house.
All my clothes were in her house, but I had to go and get new clothes. These are just the receipts of all my clothes that I had to buy. And here's a letter from my supervisor from all the scratches and cuts and welts on my head.
Listen to me. I believe she assaulted you. I believe that you hit her and gave her a black eye. Terrific. That's quite a way to behave in front of a 4-year-old. Put your hand down. You went in there angry. If I believe what you say, sir, if I believe what you say, which is different from what she says, you put your hands on her first, only by trying to take the phone away from her.
That is
correct. You struggled over the phone. You have no right to put your hands on anybody in an aggressive way. Put your hands on her in an aggressive way. If I believe you, I believe somewhere in between these two stories is the truth. But if you each wound up with a couple of scratches and a black eye, it sounds to me like you deserved each other. How do you know she burned your clothes?
My sister called her later that night and asked Erica how she was doing, if her eye was okay.
Up here. Tell me your last name.
Chavarria.
Did you speak to her later that day?
Yeah, I called.
Just a second. You called to ask? Okay?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said it was still black. It was still hurting.
And?
I asked her how her daughter's bloody nose was, and she said it was better. And I said, well, Erica, don't throw away his clothes. And she said, no, tell him I'm going to burn him and throw him away. I said, Erica, don't cause drama, because, and then she's like, no, and then she hung up on me.
Sit down. You had jeans, sweaters, work shirts. How many work shirts?
About 10.
Get out of here. Let me see the bills that you have. Let me see the bills that you have.
Donna, can I say something?
Go ahead.
When she called me, she never asked about his clothes because his clothes were never at my house. She asked me if I was okay And I was like, yeah. I said, why are you going to call, now and ask me if I'm okay when she didn't try and do anything when he hit me?
What about when you hit him?
What do you mean?
Did she try to do anything when you hit him?
No. She tried breaking us up and saying, Gabriel, just stop, stop.
All the clothes that you purchased, sir, were $453. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $453. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out. Torres versus De Jesus. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Ileana Torres is suing her ex-fiancé, 25-year-old Benny De Jesus, for a loan to pay his child support. Ileana says Benny was in danger of going to jail for the second time.
How old are you, Miss Torres?
23.
And you, sir?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a professional esthetician.
What about you, Mr. De Jesus? What do you do?
Electrician.
How many children do you have, Miss Torres?
Just one.
How old?
He's 5.
Does he live with you?
Yes, he does.
Who supports him?
I do.
How many children do you have, Mr. De Jesus?
One, Your Honor.
Where does that child live?
He lives with his mother right now.
And who supports your child?
Well, I pay child support every month right now, and she has physical custody of him.
Do you pay child support for Miss Torres' child?
No, ma'am.
Because it's not your child.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be stupid for you to pay child support for Miss Torres' child because the child doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Child has a mother and a father,
Yeah.
and the mother and father should pay child support.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what your lawsuit is about, Miss Torres. You and Mr. De Jesus had the unfortunate experience of being engaged to each other for a period of time. And while you were so involved, Mr. De Jesus fell behind in his child support, among other things. But this is what your lawsuit is about. And is your claim that you made a loan to him so that he wouldn't go to jail to pay his child support.
Yes.
Now, Mr. De Jesus says she paid the child support. You acknowledge.
Yes, I did. Yeah, she paid it for me.
But it was a gift. Now do you understand my preliminary questions?
Oh, yes. There's a bell.
So I asked you a couple of seconds ago, Mr. De Jesus, you wouldn't pay child support for her child, right?
Yeah.
Because the child's not yours.
Nope.
Child has a mother and a father.
Yep.
Parents are supposed to pay for their own children.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And if you don't pay child support for your child, you're a bum.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect. How much did you give him to pay the child support?
$2,400.
And how much time was he facing in jail if he didn't pay the child support?
2 years.
Ah.
It would have been his second time going to jail for not paying his child support.
That's a bum times 2. Now, Miss Torres, I mean, he's easy to take care of. You know, I could take care of 10 of him with this pinky. 10 of him. My question to you is, you don't look like a marginal person. You look somebody in the eye when you speak to them. You have support, lives with you. What are you doing with him? I mean, are things so desperate out there that you got to pick a bum who's got one child and has fallen behind twice in child support to the extent that the second time they were going to put him in jail for 2 years? You're going to get your $2,400 because that's what he owes you. Because he doesn't want to pay for your child, and you shouldn't have to pay for his. Right, Mr. De Jesus?
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't $2,400. She only gave me $1,000. The rest of it I raised myself.
Show me the $2,400, Miss Torres.
She knows that it was $1,000 that she gave me.
This is the check.
And the rest of it was raised up.
This is a check that I had signed. This is where it came out of my son's bank account.
Because the money was deposited in there so that we could write a check out for it because I can't get cash.
And I got my money in there.
She knows that the reason the money was deposited was so that I could write a check out because I had to have record of the money that I'm paying.
No,
for
and
my
I
child
have
support.
a piece of paper.
Well, no time around the withdrawal of this $2,400, sir, did anybody put in $1,500?
It was sporadically put in. It was $200 here. As I kept raising the money, I would put the money into the account because the court date was coming. When the court
You
date
should
came,
have kept better
we
records.
deposited.
What kind of an excuse did you give to the mother of your child every time you didn't send money?
I mean,
Checks in the mail.
We both spoke. We speak every time we see each other. She knows if I'm late and when she's going to get her money.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. De Jesus. Yesterday, did you eat dinner?
Yeah.
And you have a cell phone?
No.
Have a regular phone?
No, actually, no. Thanks to Miss Torres here, I don't have nowhere to live actually right now.
I was paying for everything for you.
She took my car.
Miss Torres,
threw my clothes away.
Does he have a problem that's eating up the money that he's earning from being an electrician?
From what I'm concerned, I don't know. But
You don't know?
when I met him, he did have problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I'm doing is telling you, I know. And you have a responsibility because you have a 5-year-old child. You're only supposed to bring the right kind of people into their lives. You got it?
Yes.
Judge for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,400.
Now, this is case number 402 on the calendar in the matter of Bergdahl versus Sanchez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Sanchez, did you have trouble finding the courthouse today, sir?
Not at all. Found it just fine.
Did you get here on time?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
15 till.
Huh?
No.
Well, what happened, Miss Bergdahl? Why couldn't you find the courthouse?
Because I've been under the weather a little bit, and it took me a while to get here today.
Are you sick?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I've been working for Red Cross in Louisiana, and since I've been back, I've had a cold, and I haven't recovered from it yet, and I haven't had a home to go to. So I've been moving from place to place with my luggage, and it's took a toll on my health.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Let me go into what the lawsuit is. I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to speak, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. Bergdahl, this is what your lawsuit is about. You claim that Mr. Sanchez moved into your apartment with you. You lived together as roommates for about 6 months. He was supposed to pay half the rent. He didn't, but that's not what you're suing him for. You're suing him because you moved out in September. You told him to move out in September. He didn't move out in September. Your name is the only one on the lease. He didn't pay September's rent. He was still there in October. He didn't pay October's rent, as a result of which you lost your deposit on the apartment, which you claim was $1,000. You want Mr. Sanchez to pay the $1,000 that you lost in the deposit that the landlord kept, plus the $1,400 for rent for the month of September when you moved out.
Yes.
And now Mr. Sanchez wants to say something. So within the context of this case, sir, what do you want to tell me?
I was just going to say I've been under the weather, too, as you can hear in my voice. And
I felt better
made
in
it
my
on
day,
time,
too,
so
Bird.
that's all
I
I'm
know
gonna
used
say.
to be better 10 years ago. You wake up, you have aches, you have pains, but when you have to get someplace, you get there, and you get there on time.
Correct.
Anything else you want to tell me right now? No, good. All right, Ms. Bergdahl, when did he move into your apartment?
He moved into my apartment at the end of January in 2005.
And how did you know each other?
We had mutual acquaintances before, and we slowly became friends.
And you moved out September what?
September the 9th.
Did you pay September's rent?
Yes, I did.
When did you move out?
Actually,
It's not an answer.
I am still residing there, and I'm in the process of working with the management company right now on that place.
How much rent did you pay in September?
$400.
Is that right?
He paid September. He paid half of. He did not pay $400. He paid $362 for half the rent in September.
What was the whole rent? What's the whole rent?
$725, ma'am.
You're still there?
That is correct.
And you're working with the management company to take over her lease?
That is correct.
Then you have to give her $1,000. If she can prove to me that she gave them $1,000, show it to me.
Of that 1,000, I did participate with 300 of that 1,000.
Steven Sanchez owes everybody money. I'm the last person.
Just a second. Shh. Mr. Sanchez, just show me that you gave her $300.
And that's the problem. My work schedule does not allow me to gather up information, and that's the problem that I have. So
well, you want to know what the problem you have?
It's bad. It's a bad problem. I'm
glad
sorry.
you said that, sir. What kind of work do you do? Problem is not an answer.
I'm a manager at a car dealership, and it requires me to be there from open to
You're a
close.
manager at a car dealership?
Correct.
What kind of car dealership?
Ford's.
Bird comes in with his lovely wife, Felicia, and wants to buy a Ford, and they come to you. You sit down, you work out a contract?
Correct.
And do you sell anybody a car? Do you order a car unless they do all the paperwork and sign all the paperwork? I know I've bought cars. There's usually a ton of paperwork,
correct.
Right? So you know that when you're buying a car, you have to be prepared to paperwork. When you come to court, you don't come with a you come with evidence, sir. So I don't know what that piece of paper is that you have with you, but if you claim that you gave her $300, then you bring proof of that.
Correct.
All right. So you have to give her $1,000. That's numero uno, despite the fact that she's late, without a legitimate excuse. Now let's deal with the rent. Did you pay October's rent? She wasn't there. You were there. Did you pay October's rent?
The situation with that was when she went to her retreat.
Just a second.
I'm leading up to the situation at hand.
Listen. Life is short. I'm
Correct.
getting older by the minute. I'll let you expand on the answer if I need it. Did you pay October's rent?
No, I did not, because
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to.
Just a second. Did you live there?
Can I say something, please?
Did you live there?
Yes, I did.
Fine. Now, who do you think is responsible for October's rent?
She's on the lease.
Right, and she wasn't living there.
Correct.
You were living there.
Correct.
Just a second. You know, you made me nervous. Something is going in my eye. Bird, look over here. Do you see? Oh, I got it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Does this look all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're doing good.
Thank you. All right. Listen to me very carefully, sir. The landlord is not related to you in any way. The landlord, I assume, is not related to Miss Bergdahl in any way. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we have to craft this order so that the landlord gets paid their money. What you're going to tell me, Mr. Sanchez, is that you were not permitted to pay the landlord rent because you were not on the lease. Correct. Is that what you were going to tell me? You see what a quick learner I am, Mr. Sanchez? That doesn't mean that nobody pays the rent. Now, you don't expect Miss Bergdahl to pay the rent, do you? She wasn't there. She wasn't there in October. Did you pay November's rent?
No.
This isn't hurricane relief, sir. You're living in a place you're supposed to pay rent. So you make out the check to her, and you say, pay the rent. Or you make out the check to the landlord, give it to her. She'll get it to the landlord because she's on the hook for rent. The landlord's not going to let you off the hook. Not going to let her off the hook. Somebody's going to pay October and November's rent.
Okay. I offered to pay time and time again. What the management company said is we need to talk to our lawyers and we'll get back to you. I went and talked to, I guess her name was Kathy, and she said that you need to vacate the premises. At that time, I was in the middle of a move going to LA to work for another Ford company, and I decided to stay in town because I got another job offer where I reside because it's closer to family. So instead of opening up another lease for a couple of months, I offered to pay 2 months of rent to stay there. What they had told me was, I didn't even know you were there.
So you were a very good tenant. You were very quiet.
I was very quiet.
You have to pay rent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're a big boy.
Says ex-roommate Steven Sanchez owes for 2 months' rent and a security deposit.
People pay rent, a mortgage, rent, housing allotment. That's what you do. You don't expect her to pay for you, do you?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
I've offered to pay her also, and she denied it.
All right.
Can I say something?
No, do me a favor. I don't listen to tardy people. 700.
He's been asked multiple times by me and the management company to pay something because the person that actually owns those buildings hasn't received any money in 2 months, and he has refused to pay. We've even been over to the house. The landlord even went over to the house requesting money from him, and he didn't hand her
They did
anything.
not come over to look at the house. They came over to assess the situation of what happened and why she left.
Why didn't you pay him then?
Shh. I'm getting to that. The whole
Listen
situation of what happened.
to me. If it was all very nice, you wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to have such a pleasant afternoon.
The living situation was great. Okay, there was no problem. There was just one little issue of a coworker that she lived with that we became.
Listen, I don't care. I have other things to do. I don't care why she left. She left, and if you would have packed your bag and gone at the same time, then she would be stuck with her lease because it's her lease. You chose to live there, sir, for your own convenience. And you're a big boy. How old are you?
Old enough to know.
Is it a secret?
Yes.
It's a secret? How old you are?
33.
If I were 33, I would shout it from the rooftops.
You look 33, by the way.
That's very nice of you.
You're
It's not going to help you one bit. You owe her $1,000 for the security deposit because you're staying in the apartment. You owe the landlord $1,450. 2 checks. One to her, one to the landlord, $1,450. Mill Creek Management, Inc. is who the check gets made payable to. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had got upset at my girlfriend at the time drinking a soda.
I was prepared today to go into court showing proof of his girlfriend slitting her wrists in my house.
Next morning, she decided to get drunk at about 8 o'clock in the morning and start a fight with her.
I had to take her to the emergency room, and he let me deal with all of it because he wasn't man enough to go.
This right here is just her 10 minutes of fame.
Versus Dorland. Step forward.
Shannon Hayes is suing her ex-boyfriend, Michael Dorland, for breaking the door handle of her car, breaking her cell phone, and an assault.
Ms. Hayes, according to the complaint that I've read, Mr. Dorland was your boyfriend for a period of time, and it is your claim that during the course of an argument, you were in your car, he damaged your car. Subsequently, I believe, he destroyed a cell phone that you had purchased, and he stepped on your hand, causing your hand to be injured. You want him to compensate you for those things. Mr. Dorland says none of that is true. You almost killed him in your car. He was trying to get out of your car. That you destroyed your own phone, and you also hurt your own hand. What happened first?
What happened first was my car.
Why don't you tell me about it?
On September 10th, Mr. Dorland and I were driving, and we were staying at a bed and breakfast. We had been in an argument. We got in my car. We're driving away.
Driving where?
Towards Manitou Springs. I stopped at a convenience store, and he was getting ready to get out, and he went to open the door, and he yanked the door open. But he yanked so hard that he broke the door handle.
Go ahead. What happened next?
And when he got upset because he broke it, he looked at me, he said, "I'm sorry I did that. I did not mean to yank it that hard." I said, "Get out of my car." He started to roll down the window, and when he rolled down the window, he jumped out of the car and proceeded to break the rearview mirror on the right-hand side.
Okay, what happened next?
Then I was pretty upset, so I just looked at him and I put it in reverse and springs.
Where was he when you put it in
Standing
reverse?
at 7-Eleven.
How did he get out of the car?
He went out the window.
Okay, so you want him to pay for the broken handle and the broken mirror.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Dorland, let's do one thing at a time so we can keep this organized.
Sure.
Let's go.
I was trying to get out of the car because she was going to take me down to her friend's house, and I didn't know if they were going to jump me or beat me or whatever.
Why would they do that?
She hangs around with some pretty low people. At that time, she was still hanging around with drug dealers and people that were borrowing her car and doing more damage to her car than what anybody else was doing.
You mean anybody
she'd
else?
lose her car for... Sorry.
You mean anybody else? You mean you?
No.
All right, why don't you tell me your version of what happened on September 10th?
We went down, we got to bed and breakfast, and then we were going down to Manitou, like she said. She started a fight, so I started walking back, and I got in the car. We went to 7-Eleven, and lo and behold, we get ready to pull out of 7-Eleven. She goes, well, we're not going back to the bed and breakfast. I'm going back to see my friends. You're going with me. No, I'm not. So I quickly grabbed the door, and I pulled it open to get it up, to open it, and it snapped. It's just a little piece of plastic. So I crawled out the window. She was in reverse moving the car when I was trying to get out the window.
Miss Hayes, once he broke the door handle and he wanted out of the car, why didn't you get out of the car and go over and open the door from the outside?
Because I was scared. He scared me.
Well, instead of being inside the car with him, you get out of the car if he was scaring you, and you're at a 7-Eleven, so you go over to his door. Either you go over to his door and you open the door, or you go to somebody else and say, will you open the door, please, because I want him out of my car, instead of staying in the car with him.
I wasn't thinking that at the time. I was just
Well,
thinking
I
to get out of my
wasn't thinking
car.
either. I tend to believe, Mr. Dorland, that you started to move the car while he was trying to get out through the window.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
He wanted a cell phone, and he could not get one in his name.
You mean after this happened in September?
Yes.
After this happened in September, you made up at some point?
Yes.
How long did it take you to make up?
A couple of weeks.
Go ahead.
We had gotten back together. I took him to T-Mobile. The guy at the stand said, well, why don't you try it? And I said, no, my credit's terrible, can't do that. Turns out I could get him a phone in my name for $35. So we got it in my name, but he promised to pay me.
$35?
He paid the $35. He paid the $35. He promised to pay the monthly bill. Yes, he promised to pay the monthly bill.
Yes?
Eventually, we got into another argument at his house. I was getting everything packed up outside, and he wouldn't let me in. So I asked him to open the door, and as he opened the door, I got it open enough to stick my foot in. I said, I want my phone, please. He said, no, I'm not giving you your phone. I said, I need my phone.
Well, he had paid for the phone, so it's not your phone. It was his phone.
He hadn't paid the monthly bill. He paid $35.
But there wasn't a monthly bill yet.
I hadn't got the bill yet, no.
Go ahead.
He took the phone, and he broke it in half. He threw one half at me, and he took the other half. And I had my cell phone in my hand. My cell phone dropped between the door and my foot. I went to pick up my cell phone. He stepped on my foot, or my hand. Excuse me. I got my cell phone, stepped into my car, and he told me he was sorry, and I said, no, just leave me alone. And thereafter, I proceeded to call the police.
So $35 you don't get because that's part of your lawsuit for the cell phone, because he paid for the cell phone.
Okay.
Now, so let's talk about the hand, sir.
Can I kind of tell you my version of that? Because it's real quick.
I would love to hear it, and I would love to hear it quickly.
Okay. She drove up to my house, and when I opened the door, I always put my foot right in front so that when she tries to kick her way in the house, she can't get in there. I was trying to keep her at bay. I shut the door and went out the back door and then went up to another store and was calling everybody I knew to come and witness this psychotic person throwing stuff at the windows. She was kicking on the door. There were footprints on the door. She kicked in the side of the doggy door. She broke into my house that evening. Here's the police report specifies that.
Did you make up again?
No. I know it was pretty stupid to make up with her before.
Just a second. You made up with her more than once.
Yes, I did. I was trying to help her out. A mutual friend said that she was okay.
Get to the hand, would you please?
Last I talked to her, everything was done and she was going to leave me alone.
Hand. Get to the injured hand.
There was no injured hand.
She called the police. What happened when the police came?
By the time they had gotten there, it really wasn't that bad.
How bad was it?
Well, it was bad enough to hurt me. I couldn't
Did you go to the doctor?
No.
Did you go to a hospital?
No.
Did you have EMS?
No.
Where do you work?
I'm a housewife.
Whose housewife?
My own.
Well, where's your husband?
I'm divorced.
Then you're not a housewife.
I'm a homemaker.
That's different. A homemaker for whom?
My mom. I'm unemployed.
Here you go. You were arrested?
Yeah, on another...
Outstanding warrants?
Wasn't for any domestic violence.
For what?
Unpaid ticket.
What kind of ticket?
On a DUI I had back in, 2000.
That's not an antique, by the way, 2000.
No, but honestly, I should have had that paid, and I didn't, and I paid the price.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Dorland?
I'm a pipe fitter.
You work full-time?
Not anymore. I'm starting to. I was trying to start a business. Anytime I got anywhere close, she'd throw the kibosh in it. People didn't want me to work with them because she was calling them and going to the job sites.
Mr. Dorland, who picked her?
I did. I was trying to...
Not once, Mr. Dorland. Twice that I know of, and we only know each other about 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's not
How
so
long
good.
was this relationship that you had?
In all total, maybe about 3 months. I met her at a bar. A friend of mine said she was all right, and Obviously, I can't trust his word now.
Mr. Dorland is not Prince Charming. He's not your Prince Charming. Why don't you work?
For 5 years, I haven't been able to work because I've taken care of my children.
How old are your children?
They are 10, 8, and 5.
But they don't live with you.
Not now, they don't. Now I am looking for work.
Who do your children live with?
Their fathers.
Miss Hayes, I wish you good luck looking for a job. You and Mr. Dorland are no longer an item? Good. That makes me feel terrific.
Me too, me too.
It's the best news I've heard all day. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye, good luck. Have a very, very happy life.
Found in the matter of Kahn versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
What's your first name?
Amanda.
Yours?
Rashonda.
Ms. Kahn, you don't know anything about this other than the fact that your daughter was injured. Is that right?
correct.
And you weren't there, so you have no idea what was going on in school that day between your niece and the plaintiff's daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
So you can sit down. The girls remain standing. Okay. Amanda, how long have you been going to school with Rashonda?
I think 2 years.
Is that about right?
Ever since we started school.
How many years ago was that?
1 year. I just met her this year.
Were you friends?
Yes.
Were you friends?
Yes.
Now, your claim is that she assaulted your daughter. That's what this is all about. So before that day, had you had any trouble with Rashonda?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, usually she started calling me names.
What kind of names would she call you?
She called me stupid, ugly, 4 eyes.
Did you have any friends in class?
Only one friend.
And what about Rashonda? Did she have friends?
Yes.
Were they nice to you or were they mean to you also?
They was mean to me also.
Why did you call Amanda names?
No, that didn't
Look, look, look. Look at me.
No, I didn't call her names like that.
What names did you call her?
None.
Huh?
None.
I believe her when she says you called her names.
No, I did not call her names.
I believe her when she says you called her names. Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because this young lady wouldn't stand up there and embarrass herself by saying to me that you called her stupid.
Okay.
Unless you called her names. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when I ask you a question, you're going to give me a truthful answer. You're not going to make up a story. Otherwise, things are not going to go well for you. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you again. Why would you call her names? Answer the question.
I did not call her any names.
Did your friends call her names?
No.
Why would you think this little girl would tell me that somebody called her stupid and 4 eyes and all kinds of nasty names if nobody called her those names?
I don't know.
Really? All right, tell me what happened next.
She got a butterfly pen of mine. It's this right here.
How did she get it?
It was inside my school bag. It was open.
Where was your school bag?
It was under my desk.
Did you see her take it out of your school bag?
No.
So what happened when you saw her with your butterfly pen?
I said, Rashonda, Rashonda, can I please have my pen? I called her 4 times to get her.
Where did she go when she took your pen?
She went over to a nest, couple of desks. And I told Rashonda, can she please get off my pen?
And what did she say?
She kept on ignoring me. She didn't even say nothing.
So what did you do?
I walked up to her and snatched it away from her.
You snatched the pen out of her hand?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then that's when she ducked down under my desk, got these books right here, and hold it up in the air like this. And then I was trying to jump up to get it, and then that's when I finally got it. That's when she punched me on the head. That's where I found her for a second.
Let me hear your version of the story.
Yes, it was the next period, and our math teacher was coming. And he asked us to partner up with people. So it was her, Patricia, and some boys over there. So Patricia said, Rashonda, can you come here? And I was like, yes. And it was a pen on the desk, and I thought it was Patricia's because she had a pen like that before. So I picked
Patricia had a pen like that before when?
When she first came to the classroom.
What day?
I don't know.
Did Patricia tell you could take her pen?
No.
The attitude's just going to get worse.
Mm.
She live with you?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. So you took a pen that didn't belong to you, whether it belonged to Patricia or Amanda, and you took it off a desk.
Yes.
Whose desk was it?
It was a boy's desk, but he wasn't there. He was absent, and then Eugene was sitting in the desk. So
you're telling me Eugene had this pink pen on his desk? Rashonda, are you telling me that a boy was using... Pick up the pen. Shh. A boy was using that pen? Look at the pen. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
So you picked up the pen Because it was a boy's pen, but you thought it was Patricia's. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And then what happened?
So then I picked up a book off the floor.
You picked what?
Book off the floor.
What book?
It was like a regular book.
What do you mean you picked it up off the floor? What'd you pick it up off the floor for?
Because I wanted to, so I picked it up off the floor.
Just a second, no, I don't understand. Was it your book that you picked up off the floor or somebody else's book that you picked up off the floor?
It was a book.
Was it your book or somebody else's book?
It was my book.
So you picked up your book off the floor?
Yes.
And what did you do with it when you picked it up off the floor?
I had it in my hand. She snatched it.
Just a second, you held it in your hand?
Yes.
You held your book in your hand?
Yes.
And she snatched it out of your hand? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Where was the pen?
In my hand.
Well, which hand were you holding the pen in? Show me. And which hand were you holding the book in? And where were you holding the book?
She snatched the pen out of my hand, and then I picked up the book. She snatched it. She pushed me once.
Oh, here we go. So you picked up the book after she snatched the pen out of your hand?
Yes.
But you told me it was your book? Or was it her book?
It was my book.
So you're telling me that you were protecting your book?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's the same story you told me in your answer, that you picked up your book? Or you think it was a different story? You get where I'm going. You're a fibber. Now, I hope your aunt knows that. And I hope your aunt knows that you have attitude. Bad attitude. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. Good. Because you really have to do something about it now before it gets out of hand. Do you understand that? You could stand up, please.
Well, it really seems like y'all getting on her side and y'all picking on me.
No, we're only picking on you here, Rashonda, because you didn't tell the truth, my dear.
She didn't
I told
either.
you, when we start, get your hands off your hips. No attitude here. And you know whose that is?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want people to...
Was teased and assaulted by classmate Roshonda Williams. Amanda claims Roshonda socked her in the face during class.
Rashonda, I believe that you were picking on her. I believe that you called her names. And if you had said to me, when I asked you the question at the beginning, yeah, I did call her names. I'm sorry, it wasn't the right thing to do. But I didn't hit her. Or, I'm sorry I called her names and we got into an argument. She pushed me and I hit her, so it was really a fair fight. That I accept. But when you start out lying and telling me that you didn't call her names, and I know you did, then we get off on the wrong foot. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does she live with you? Are you her
Yes.
guardian?
I'm not her guardian. But
Who is?
My grandmother, but she couldn't come because of medical reasons.
But you live in the household?
Yes.
Who goes to school when she has a problem?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes my grandma do.
How many times have you gone to school because she's had a problem?
Not a lot.
How many?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. You. And how many times has your grandmother gone to school because she's had a problem?
I don't know. I work in the day, so.
Well, you said sometimes you, sometimes her
Yeah.
grandmother.
Yeah.
So her grandmother had to go twice?
Maybe. I don't know.
You went 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's too many times. She's got a bad attitude.
I know.
Good. Is she getting help for her bad attitude?
Yes.
What kind of help is she getting for her bad attitude?
She go to, like, after-school programs and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to make it seem like she's a good kid, because every kid, you know, go through things.
No.
Well, majority of the kids do.
No, you're wrong.
Well.
No, you're wrong. Some kids can be cruel. Some kids can be unkind. But the majority of the kids who go to school don't have to have a parent or guardian come up 6 times at least because they're having trouble. And the majority of the kids don't have... She went to a police mediation about this?
Yeah.
What? How many kids do you think that are her
But it
age?
was unnecessary, though. I have a paper that says that she hit her first.
Let me see.
And I was defending myself.
Let me see. You have a paper that said she hit her first?
She pushed...
That's a different story.
All right, but she still put her hands on her first, though.
She stole her property.
She didn't steal it.
She
She picked it up off the desk.
Listen to me. What she did was, you were getting along much better when you understood the dynamics of what was going on here.
And I...
Miss Attitude picked up the pen knowing it belonged to her. She asked for it back. Miss Attitude didn't give it to her back. She grabbed it away from her and probably pushed her. I agree with you. That's what happened. Then she went down and picked up the books. Those books that belong to Amanda. Whose books are those?
Mine.
Okay, she picked not her books. Do you understand? So books it was. She thought about it, and she said, I picked up my book. Well, that doesn't even make sense. Why would she pick up her book and hold it over her head? Do you understand? Mm-hmm. The problem is she's not only got attitude, but she's stupid. Because she can't think of why, logically, she would want to hold her book over her head.
But do you think that was right?
Listen to me. She was picking on her. But listen to me. She was picking on her. As part of the picking on her process, she took her pen and didn't return it. It was
She got it, so how didn't return it if she got it?
Don't speak to me until I speak to you. Do we understand each other? You may be able to get away with your attitude with your grandmother, maybe with your aunt, maybe with your friends. You do not get away with that attitude with me. It's nice to be nice to people. And if somebody you think isn't as smart as you are, doesn't have the friends you do, the nice thing is not to pick on them. The nice thing is to try to be nice to them, because that's what you would like. You see, you don't want people to be nasty to you like I am, right? You don't want people to make fun of you like I am. You want people to be nice to you. And if you want people to be nice to you, you have to be nice to them. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Good. Now you can stand up. Can I see the medical report, please?
Your Honor, there wasn't any medical bills, but she has to be taught that she cannot bully my daughter.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. As much as I explained it to her, she now understands for today that you can either be nice to people or you can be unkind to people. Yes, ma'am. I've explained that lesson to her. I've just been very unkind to her for the last 15 minutes. Yes, she doesn't like it. So she has a choice. And the choice for the rest of her life is, if you are in what you consider, my dear, a superior position, smarter, have more friends, more popular and whatever, you can make somebody else's life miserable, or you can say, I want to be kind. I could have been kind to you. I chose not to be. You now have the drill. She's a little girl, and she may not be as smart as you are. She may not be as popular as you are. She may not have the kind of friends that you do. That means that you're supposed to go the extra mile to be nice to her. Put your hand down. Nice to her. I want you to remember how badly you feel right now. Can't control your crying. Can't control how you feel. Because that's the way somebody who you tease and make fun of, they feel all the time. Do you understand? Yes. Good. You had no out-of-pocket expenses? That's correct. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $10. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. In the matter of Paul versus Page. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Paul, the defendant is currently married to your former wife. They are in the process of divorcing, or has that divorce been finalized?
We're temporarily separated right now.
And it is your claim that on a particular morning, you were spending the night with your former wife and children. Mr. Page came to the house, and it is your claim, assaulted you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Mr. Page says you were the one who threw the first punch, and that if you were injured, as was he, that's your fault, because you were the one who became aggressive initially. Now, is this your ex-wife?
Yes, it is.
How long have you been divorced?
12 years.
You have children?
Yes, we do. We have 3 children.
How old are they?
13, 14, 16.
And they live with your former wife?
Yes, they do.
On what day did this assault occur?
September 22nd of 05.
And when had you come to your former wife's house?
The night before, 21st.
Was that the first time that you spent the night there?
Not.
When, Mr. Page, did you marry Mrs. Page?
February of 04.
And when did you separate?
Actually, February of 05.
Okay. From February of 2005 to September 2005, did you ever spend the night in the house?
Actually, I did.
So prior to September 22nd, 2005, when was the last time that you spent the night with Mrs. Page?
Probably in June, somewhere around that time.
So for 3 months you had not?
No, but we kept in constant contact with each other.
And the purpose of that was?
Just to talk over situations with us. We were trying to work on our marriage. Since John Paul here came and disrupted everything, we were trying to get everything back together.
Mr. Paul, I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding your going to your ex-wife's house on the 21st of September.
She called me. She asked me to come over. I had bought a computer for our children. She wanted me to set up the computer. I came over to set up the computer.
When you slept at the house, did you sleep in the same room as your former wife?
Yes, I did.
Did you know that she and Mr. Page were at least in communication with each other?
No, I was not aware of that.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me what happened.
I put the computer together with her and my children. We had dinner. We woke up the next morning. She went to the kitchen, and I was in the bedroom. At approximately 11 o'clock, there was a knock on the door.
What day of the week was this?
I believe it was Thursday.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a computer technician.
You don't work Monday through Friday?
I was off that day.
Why are you shaking your head?
He hasn't worked in the last 6 years, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's his opinion.
Shh. What do? You freelance for somebody?
Yes.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
2004.
How do you support yourself, sir?
Right now, I have an inheritance I've been living off of and working part-time.
Pay child support?
Yes, I do.
How much?
At this time, it's not through the court. I support the children and Shelley. I have continually since they were married and before that. I was always supporting them.
No, you haven't.
Shh. Mr. Page.
Sorry, Judge.
When you were divorced, the court set an order of support. What was the order of support for your 3 children?
$200 apiece.
When was the last time you paid your wife $600?
Probably within the last 2 months.
Is that right?
Don't keep record of it.
Stand up. Your last name is Page?
Yes.
Step over there, please. I'm going to ask you a question. I want an answer. When was the last time you got child support from your former husband for your 3 children?
It's not consistent. It's when I need something, he will give me money for it.
Well, was it 2 months ago? Was it 6 months ago? Was it a year ago?
A few months ago, a couple months ago. Like I said, when I need something, he gives me the money for it.
Good.
It's not like he gives me just $600 a month on a certain day.
No, well, that's unfortunate for your children. When you were married to Mr. Page, who was supporting your children? It's not an answer.
We were.
Who's we?
I was getting income.
From what?
I was on disability at the time, and Walter was contributing to the house, and so was John.
Sit down. All right, Mr. Paul. We're about 11 o'clock in the morning. You're coming out of the bedroom. Your former wife is in the kitchen. And tell me what happened.
There was a knock on the door. I answered the door. Mr. Page was at the door. I asked him what he was doing here. He said, it's none of your business. He forced his way into the door and attacked me.
Okay, tell me how he attacked you.
He punched me in the face, punched me in the abdomen, continued to punch me. I defended myself.
How did you defend yourself?
By punching him back.
Where did you punch him?
I believe in the abdomen or the body and the face. I have a police...
He's present?
They were called after the incident.
Mr. Paul, you may be able to hoodwink her. Me, you can't.
Okay.
Were the police there when this happened?
No, they weren't.
And your police report contains a chronology, according to you, of what happened.
That's correct.
I will look at it. So
Okay.
this is your statement to the police.
Yes, it is.
Fine. So according to you, he hit you first.
Yes.
And after he hit you, what did he do?
By that time, I was bleeding. I had contusions to my face, so I'm not sure where he went or what he did. I have a medical report also, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it. Mr. Paul, when did your former wife stop drinking that day?
I was not aware that she was drinking at all.
Well, the police were aware of it, sir. Shelley, that is your former wife, is
That's
it not?
correct.
Was extremely, according to the police report, intoxicated. Not just intoxicated, extremely intoxicated. Was she drinking alone?
If she was drinking at all, it must have been alone, yes.
But you were with her from the daytime of the 21st through the night.
Yes.
And you slept together and then woke up, according to you.
Yes.
So if she was extremely intoxicated, she would have had to have started to drink again in the morning.
I guess that's correct.
Step up. Since I'm not certain, Miss Page, that you would recognize the truth if it came up and shook your hand, I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I think you will be able to answer for me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is not some...
His ex-wife's estranged husband attacked him in a fit of jealous rage. Walter Page claims John is abusive.
Now, what is your mother's name?
My mother's name is Margot.
And do you have a reasonable relationship with her? When was the last time you spoke to her?
The last time I spoke to her was 2 days ago.
Mr. Page says that your mother spoke with him and said, I haven't spoken to Shelley in a while, which is the reason that he stopped by your house to check on you. Had your mother told you subsequently that she asked Walter to come by and check on you?
No, she didn't.
Did you ask her?
No, I didn't.
Well, that would appear to be very ridiculous, wouldn't it? If your husband says, I came by to check on you because I spoke to your mother, and your mother said she hadn't spoken to you, it would seem to me that a normal person, somebody operating with at least 2 cells, would call their mother and say, did you ask Walter to come by and check on me? And you're telling me that you never had that conversation with her.
Not prior to him coming
I'm
over.
not talking about prior, I'm talking about afterwards.
Oh, afterwards, yes, I did.
And afterwards, she told you that she asked him to come by and check on you.
No, what she had said was Walter had came by and asked if she had spoken with me. And she said she hadn't heard from me in a couple days. And I guess Walter came by that morning.
To check and see if you were okay.
I guess.
Good.
That's what he
now
says.
you can sit down. Now, do you have a police report, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Which one would you like to see? I have lots of them.
I want to see the one specifically referring to this incident, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure he has lots of them, Your Honor. Due to the fact that he's
a lot of reason why I have them.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You're not helping yourself.
Due to the fact that he...
Shut.
Okay.
What's the nature of your former wife's disability? Why was she collecting disability?
I have no idea.
Why were you collecting disability?
I was on disability at the time because I was separating from him and I was under a lot of emotional stress.
Who was giving you disability for that?
The doctor is the one that filled out the disability report.
Stand up. Doctor prescribed medication for this disability?
Yes, she did.
What kind of medication?
It was Prozac at the time.
So on the 22nd of September, you were taking medication?
Yes, I was.
Police officer says you were extremely intoxicated. You were drinking?
I wasn't extremely intoxicated. I had had 1 glass of wine.
Police officer said you were extremely... I'm reading from the police report.
Well, I wasn't.
When did you have the glass of wine? After you woke up in the morning?
Approximately around 11:30. I was upset. There was a family member that was not doing very well.
So that consoled you. Had you taken your Prozac prior to taking the glass of wine?
Yes, I did.
Sit down. This is not somebody that you should be fighting over. This is somebody that you should be saying goodbye to. Because it sounds to me like she was playing both of you like a fiddle. There is no question in my mind, Mr. Paul, that your former wife was with you at the same time that she was with her soon-to-be ex-husband. No question. Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Get out. You don't need the trouble.
I know.
Now, that doesn't excuse your bad behavior. And I believe that when he came knocking at the door, your initial response to him was aggressive. And his initial response to finding you there was sort of outrage. The truth was, she was playing you both like a fiddle. She needed him to do something. She needed you to do others. He's not paying much support. You were footing some of the bills in the house, you know?
So was
knows
I.
how to work the... Not enough.
Oh,
well, sir,
not at all.
unless your inheritance was substantial.
And it was.
Good. You want to tell me what it was? The courts would like to know.
$80,000.
Sir, listen to me. You know how long $80,000 goes to take care of 3 teenage children?
Oh, it goes real fast.
Like this.
Yeah.
Gone.
It's gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
So in the 12 years, sir, that you've been divorced from your wife, she can't remember the time when you gave her the $600 a month that you were supposed to give her for the support of your 3 children.
But we were living together the whole time. And I did support them. I did work.
Well, if you were living together the whole time...
Up until 2003.
Mr. Paul, if you were living together the whole time, was there any other subsidy money coming into the house?
Not that I'm aware of. I worked, she worked.
That's a very good way of putting it, not that I'm aware of. Listen, you both behaved badly that morning. According to the police report, you were both injured. You both had cuts and bruises. There was lots of blood emanating from both of you. There were no arrests made, is that right? No arrests made?
No, there was
You
charges. There were charges against Mr. Page brought up.
Well, you made charges, sir, but the police did an investigation, and they chose to arrest nobody. And I choose to find nobody at fault. Because the person that's at fault, Mr. Paul, is her. She put the 2 of you in a situation where neither one of you knew that the other one was still involved in the picture. And both of you responded with almost an animalistic response on the morning of September 22nd. He never expected to find you there, and you never expected to see him coming into your house, what you considered your house. And according to you, had not been drinking at all, despite the fact that the police found that your ex-wife, with whom you claimed to have spent the entire evening and the entire morning, was very intoxicated. I don't understand that, sir. So your case.
Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Kramer, you and the defendant were in a dating relationship, according to what I read in your complaint. You did not live together, but you were, in fact, dating. And also intimate, because your lawsuit wants Mr. Bunn to pay for expenses surrounding a miscarriage that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Bunn says that's not his responsibility. When were you dating?
The first date we had was May 28th of last year. And we did date for a while, but it ended up to where I was coming to his house Wednesday through Sunday. So we were kind of living together, and when school ended in December, I was supposed to move to Ridgecrest to be with him.
What kind of work do you do?
At the time, I was working at a door mail workshop, but I ended up getting terminated, so I was in school, and I'm starting the nursing program in the fall.
Now, when did you begin an intimate relationship with the defendant?
Around the end of June.
And when did you find out you were pregnant?
September 17th was when I took the actual pregnancy test.
Do you have other children?
I have one daughter.
How old is that child?
She's 20.
Does she live with you?
No, she did, but I moved to Visalia. So she lives with her grandmother now.
Now, when you and the defendant began this intimate relationship, whose responsibility was it to take care of birth control?
We talked about it, and I had said that I was unable to get pregnant for the last 20 years. I have not been on birth control for 20 years, and I really wanted another child. He informed me he was not interested in having a child, and I told him, well, I'm not sure. I don't believe I can get pregnant. I haven't in 20 years. And he said, well, okay.
Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am. She said she had been with many men and tried to get pregnant, and it didn't happen, so.
Did your mother ever say to you an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure?
Yes, ma'am.
You know what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're telling me, Ms. Kramer, is you told him that you couldn't become pregnant. There was no reason to use birth control.
What I told him was I did not believe I could become pregnant, that I had been with men who had had children after they had been with me and had been with men who had children before, and that I have never gotten pregnant in the last 20 years.
Bingo.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you had a miscarriage, is that right?
Well, no, that's not exactly what happened.
Listen, let's cut to the Reader's Digest version of this case. Ultimately, you had a miscarriage.
Yes, I did.
Why do you think Mr. Bunn is responsible for paying any of your bills?
Because when I first told him I was pregnant, his response was, well, I knew if my sperm, anybody's sperm could do it, mine could. And then he said, well, why don't we get married? I don't want to do the right thing for the wrong reason. Let me move up here in December. We'll see if things work out, and if they do, we'll get married in 2006. He said, that sounds like a good idea.
Good.
Then he was supposed to put me on his insurance. That's what he told me. So I paid the COBRA to continue my insurance.
How can he put you on his insurance? You're not his wife. You have to have a status.
Not in the state of California. In the state of California, you can have a significant other. And when I moved in with him, since I was there for most of the week, I was able to be put on his insurance. He asked his human resources person, and that's what they told him. That's what he told me.
Is that right?
No. Basically, I paid for the COBRA insurance. She was out of work and didn't have any money, so I paid for her insurance.
How much did you pay towards her COBRA?
$195, I believe, was her COBRA pay without the dental and the medical, and I paid for 2, maybe 3 months. I'm not real clear. I didn't keep records on this, and I paid cash.
Okay.
But the insurance company said as soon as the baby was born that it was automatically on my insurance, and we wouldn't have to add any more payments to my insurance.
But not until after the baby was born?
Correct.
Then the baby would be covered, but not her?
Yes, ma'am.
So?
That's not what he told me. What he told me was that since we were basically living together, that he could put me on as a significant other.
Well, he couldn't. Can't put you on as a significant other because clearly you're not so significant. You're in court a couple of months later. So why should he pay any more than he did for the COBRA?
He didn't pay the COBRA. I paid the COBRA.
He said he paid 2 to 3 months of COBRA.
That's not true. I paid the COBRA. I don't have all 3 checks. I've got 1 check right here that I paid, and I called to try and get a statement, and I didn't have time.
I still don't understand why you think that he is responsible.
The baby was his.
How does he know that?
It was never in dispute. And I wasn't sleeping with
listen,
anybody
Ms.
else.
Kramer, it's always in dispute, madam. It's always in dispute when 2 people are not married and there is a child until the courts determine the parentage of that child, that the parentage of that child is up in the air. So he is not responsible for any prenatal care that you had, whether the prenatal care results in a child or results in a miscarriage, unless ultimately he is found to be the father of that child.
But we had an agreement.
Let me hear about the agreement.
He told me that he was going to put me on his insurance.
He can't put you on his insurance. Get over putting you on the insurance. He can't do it.
Okay. I emailed him and asked him for half of the bills. He agreed to pay me for half of the bills.
Okay, when did he do that?
I emailed him on May 6th. He answered me on May 11th.
I'd like to see his answer.
There was another email before that last one where I told him I was with somebody else, and that's when he sent me that saying, woohoo, congratulations, and I never heard from him again.
So you told him that while you were involved with him, you were also involved with somebody else?
No, ma'am. I did not meet the gentleman I'm with now until just about 3 months ago.
You have bills here totaling $417.
That's half.
Can you explain to me why you're suing him for $3,158?
Well, you threw out the whole thing about the insurance, but the only reason I have those bills is because I wasn't doubly insured, which is what I was told I was going to be. And
just a minute, would that have made any difference, Miss Kramer, with regard to your getting pregnant, whether you had double insurance or half insurance? You couldn't have done anything anyway. Listen to me. I assume that you didn't mean to get pregnant, correct?
Yes. I did not think I could. I believe I could not.
So I assume that you didn't mean to get pregnant. At the time you got pregnant, you were the only medical insurance you had was Cobra.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're complaining about is that you wanted double coverage because you wanted him to cover you, so that's what you're suing him for? That's what this $3,000 is?
No, what I'm suing for is that he and I had an agreement for him to pay for half of the bills.
Listen to me. And I said to you, so far the bills are $400. What are you suing him for $3,000 for?
Well, also for the Cobra.
What else?
But that's and then for emotional distress.
What kind of emotional distress?
After the miscarriage, he came to the hospital and stayed with me, and then he took me home and dropped me off. And I emailed him, and I was asking him, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go from here? Are we going to be together? What are we going to do? He didn't answer my emails. He didn't call me. He didn't. He knew that he didn't want to be with me anymore. He just left me hanging. He didn't tell me anything.
So that's the emotional abuse you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Women have that all the time, madam. You don't get paid for that in court. I don't think that he's aggravated. Here you tell him it's been 20 years and I can't get pregnant. Don't worry about it. We don't have to use any birth control. I can't get pregnant. And all of a sudden he finds himself a family man. How old are you?
45, ma'am.
You have any other children?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a single father of 2.
How old are your children?
21 and 15.
You certainly didn't plan on having a new baby.
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You haven't been married?
Ex-boyfriend Jeff Bunn owes for half of the medical bills during her pregnancy. Marguerite says she ultimately miscarried.
You caused him more emotional distress than he caused you.
That's not true, but all right.
You're in charge. Men sometimes don't think with their brains.
I found that out, ma'am.
You're supposed to be careful because you thought it would be nice to have a baby at your age doesn't necessarily mean that it's a nice thing to do.
No,
because what you told me a little while ago was for 20 years I've been trying to have a baby and I wasn't able to.
No, I said I wanted to have another baby. I was not sleeping around wanting to get pregnant. That's not what happened.
Listen to me. I heard what you said. For the last 20 years, and I assume you haven't been married for the last 20 years.
No, ma'am, never been.
Well, so if you haven't been married for the last 20 years and you wanted to have another baby, somehow you're putting the cart before the horse.
Well, I found out a long time ago that men sometimes, they're really not necessary.
Well, they're necessary for still a couple of things.
They are. And I think that he should be responsible for what he agreed to.
Yeah, he agreed according to him. He said, I'm going to pay you for half your bills. Your bills here are $400, and he said, I'll give you $200. Is that what you said?
Yes,
no, ma'am, that is not half my bills. I have my bills right here. That is his half.
Show me your checks for $800.
I haven't been able to pay them $800. Some of them have gone to collections, and I've been paying on some of them. I do have canceled checks for some of them.
Well, show me.
Here. Those ones.
Well, Mr. Bunn, let me tell you something. You are not responsible for half of these bills. So far, at the time she sent you the email, she told you that the bills were $417. I believe that's the plain language of this.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your answer, and I credit you because I believe that you're telling me the truth. I believe that you are a truthful person. I believe that you said to her, I'll give you half of the $400 or $200.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you told her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're responsible for, only because you agreed to give her $200. You are not responsible for these bills, because, quite frankly, until you were thoroughly satisfied that the child that she was carrying was yours, the law holds you not responsible for this baby. Anyway, judgment for the plaintiff, only on the contract, only on the agreement, for the plaintiff in the amount of